Chapter 502. Not long after, a strong medicinal fragrance wafted out of the cauldron, and then disappeared. Zhang Xiaohua knew that the 13-day pill incubation was complete. She immediately stood up from the futon, and used her divine sense to enter the cauldron. She replayed the method of pulling out the pills in her mind. Then she stretched out both hands and moved her 10 fingers, slowly and rhythmically forming hand seals. In a short while the hand seals were formed. Without hesitation, Zhang Xiaohua sent the hand seals into the cauldron. Then, her hands did not stop and continued to send out the remaining hand seals. Thus, the number of pills in the cauldron increased from 1 to 2, then from 2 to 3, until 8 pills were pulled out of the cauldron. Looking at the remaining medicinal liquid, Zhang Xiaohua knew that although there was a lot of medicinal liquid left, she could only pull out one more pill. It was impossible to pull out another crimson flame pill. However, when he cast the last spell, the 9th crimson flame elixir was pulled out smoothly. However, the remaining medicinal liquid did not disappear mysteriously like when he refined elixirs in the past. Instead, it floated quietly in the cauldron. Zhang Xiaohua let out a cry of surprise. Could it be that refining the crimson flame pill could break the limit of 9 pills? Very naturally, Zhang Xiaohua sent the last hand seal into the liquid. In an instant, an unbelievable scene happened. When Zhang Xiaohua sent the hand seal into the last liquid, the liquid did not move at all at first. Then, it swelled and flickered as if it was invisible. Just when Zhang Xiaohua thought that it was going to disappear, there was a sudden light crisp sound. It was like a burnt soybean exploding. Suddenly, 6 thumb-sized pills appeared out of thin air, and fell to the bottom of the cauldron. Zhang Xiaohua's eyes widened. Those 6 pills were maroon in color. Weren't they the crimson flame pills mentioned in the Rejuvenation Valley's book? Faint Zhang Xiaohua was completely dizzy. Wasn't she refining the meridian soothing pill? How did 6 crimson flame pills pop out in the end? However, this was not the time for him to hesitate. When he came to his senses, Zhang Xiaohua hurriedly took out the jade bottle from the money bag, and carefully collected the 9 meridian nourishing pills with the elixir receiving technique. Then he cast an enchantment and put it on the shelf in his money bag space. Just when his divine sense was about to withdraw from the space, he inadvertently swept past the bottom of the shelf, and saw a few jade bottles casually thrown under the shelf. Immediately, Zhang Xiaohua seemed to have been struck by lightning. Qi-generating pill. He finally remembered. This was the qi-generating pill. It wasn't what he saw from the jade slips, but rather the qi-generating pills that were actually in his money pouch. Without the slightest hesitation, he immediately took out a bottle of qi-generating pills from his money pouch, and carefully examined it in his hand. There were 3 small characters on the jade bottle, qi-generating pill. It was written very carelessly and also very casually. It looked like it was not valued at all. However, this was the legendary panacea that could increase one's power that Elder Zhang had mentioned yesterday. Zhang Xiaohua tightly knitted his brows and felt that it was inconceivable. However, when his gaze saw the 6 brownish-red crimson flame pills that were quietly lying at the bottom of the pill furnace, he unconsciously had a flash of insight. Previously, he had used yellow essence to refine the fasting pill, gastrodia flax to refine the blood replenishing pill, and other medicinal herbs to refine medicinal pills. He had used the immortal Dao technique. The number of pills that were formed were all less than 9. As long as there were more than 9 pills, no matter how many medicinal herbs there were, they would all mysteriously disappear without a trace. However, those were all basic medicinal pills. The crimson flame pill was the first type of low-level medicinal pill that Zhang Xiaohua had refined. It also seemed to be unable to escape the shackles of 9 pills. However, the medicinal strength of the crimson pearlgrass and the bright sungrass was very strong. After forming 9 pills, there was still an excess of essence remaining. And this essence formed the crimson flame pill that Rejuvenation Valley had mentioned. This crimson flame pill was a byproduct of refining the meridian nourishing pill. Compared to the meridian nourishing pill, this crimson flame pill was naturally the role of a leftover. If it wasn't for the fact that Elder Zhang and Valley Head Nia had repeatedly placed great importance on it, Zhang Xiaohua would definitely have treated it as an ordinary medicinal pill, and casually collected it. Using this analogy, the qi-generating pill that Elder Zhang had mentioned, which was the item in Zhang Xiaohua's hand at this moment, was presumably a byproduct of some higher-level medicinal pill. Although it was a panacea to martial artists, it was certainly dispensable to immortals who refined medicinal pills. Therefore, it was so casually named and so casually thrown into a corner of the shelf. After thinking it through, Zhang Xiaohua couldn't help but slightly shake her head. She picked up the jade bottle and gently shook it by her ear, but there wasn't any movement. Could it be that it was empty? Zhang Xiaohua immediately released her divine sense. Fortunately, the restriction on the jade bottle was still there, and the 3 qi-generating pills were still inside the jade bottle. Zhang Xiaohua pursed her lips into a smile, and the jade bottle in her hand disappeared into thin air. Soon after, her gaze landed on the 6 crimson flame pills at the bottom of the pill furnace. Originally, she had been thinking about how to explain the difference between the Meridian Nourishing Pill and the Crimson Flame Pill to Valley Head Nye and Elder Zhang. Now the Crimson Flame Pill was actually a byproduct of refining the Meridian Nourishing Pill. Did she still need to explain? Even better, the Meridian Nourishing Pill was naturally kept by Zhang Xiaohua herself. She wouldn't leave it for Rejuvenation Valley. This thing was too mysterious. Giving it to them might not be a good thing. She would only give the Crimson Flame Pill to Rejuvenation Valley. It was truly killing 2 birds with 1 stone. Picking up the porcelain bottle that Rejuvenation Valley had prepared earlier, Zhang Xiaohua was just about to put the Crimson Flame pills inside, but she suddenly remembered that the qi-generating pills were also stored inside the jade bottle. Presumably, this porcelain bottle wasn't good. Thus, Zhang Xiaohua picked up the jade box that originally stored the medicinal herbs on the table. Forming an incantation seal, the 6 crimson flame pills were all stored inside the jade box. Only at this time did Zhang Xiaohua let out a long sigh. In the end, she didn't disappoint everyone and didn't waste 14 days of hard work. This crimson flame pill, the Meridian Nourishing Pill was successfully refined. Putting the jade box into her bosom, Zhang Xiaohua walked out of the pill room. At this time, it was already past noon. Presumably, Valley Master Nye and Elder Zhang had been waiting anxiously for a long time. Sure enough, seeing Zhang Xiaohua walk into the pill room with a gloomy expression, Elder Zhang and Valley Master Nye, who had been waiting impatiently, felt their hearts skip a beat. They looked at each other and quickly walked up to greet her. Elder Zhang immediately asked, "Ren Xiaoxia, how is the refinement of the Crimson Flame Pill?" Zhang Xiaohua sighed. "AI, this little nephew's learning isn't proficient." Valley Master Nye was also full of curiosity. However, looking at Zhang Xiaohua's appearance, there must have been a mistake. As a result, he didn't wait for Zhang Xiaohua to finish speaking and said, "Virtuous nephew Ren, if there was a mistake, don't mind it. Even if the refinement failed, didn't you still gain experience? Don't we still have another portion of medicinal herbs? Although there isn't enough time, you can still refine it in Chuanxiang cult. Next time, you will definitely succeed. We will just wait at Rejuvenation Valley for virtuous nephew to bring back the Crimson Flame Pill." Hearing this, Elder Zhang's expression also became gloomy. He forced a smile and said, "Yes, Ren Xiaoxia, if it didn't work this time, there will be a next time." Hearing the two talking to themselves to comfort her, Zhang Xiaohua sighed. "AI, this little nephew's learning isn't proficient. The amount of Crimson Flame Pill I refined is a little too little. And it's alright. It's fine if it's less." The two comforted. But suddenly, the two came to their senses and were pleasantly surprised. "What? Less? That means the refinement was a success?" Zhang Xiaohua smiled. "Yes, this little nephew didn't disappoint you. Although the amount refined was small, it was still a success." Elder Zhang smiled. It's alright. As long as the refinement is successful, it's fine. I'll just take a look and don't need to consume it. Let Valley Master consume this pill." Valley Master Nye was a little hesitant. If he said he didn't want to consume it, it would definitely be a lie. But then he gritted his teeth and said, "Elder Zhang should consume it. You're old, you may not. I'll wait for virtuous nephew Run to refine the pill next time." Valley Master Elder Zhang still wanted to persuade Valley Master Nye. Seeing this, Zhang Xiaohua couldn't help but laugh. She was also touched. These two valued the crimson flame pill too much, and were worried about their gains and losses. They couldn't wait for her to finish speaking and take her words out of context. Coughing, Zhang Xiaohua smiled and said, "Seniors, don't push back and forth. This time, I refined a total of 6 crimson flame pills. It's enough for both of you to consume." "What?" Elder Zhang and Valley Master Nia exclaimed again. 6 pills. Really? Zhang Xiaohua couldn't help but be puzzled. These two were too surprised today. Elder Zhang's eyes were brimming with tears. He walked forward and grabbed Zhang Xiaohua's hand. "Ren Xiaoxia, you're really a god. Word of mouth in the valley says that the crimson flame pill isn't easy to refine. In the early years, I heard that only 2 pills could be refined in one furnace. You're good, refining 6 pills at once. It's really miraculous." Valley Master Nia also couldn't hide his excitement. "Yes, it's really miraculous." Elder Zhang was also beaming with joy and said, "According to the previous agreement, Ren Xiaoxia will take 3 pills. Our Rejuvenation Valley still has 3 pills. Valley Master and I will each consume 1. The last one is difficult to handle, so Valley Master will have to make the decision." Valley Master Nia also frowned a little. "Yes, it's fine if we don't have one. But it's difficult to handle with only 1 pill. I don't know who to give it to." Elder Zhang thought for a moment. "How about I don't consume it either? We don't need any of the older ones. Let's leave it to the younger ones. Let's see who has the best aptitude and has the potential to be nurtured. It's better for them to consume it." Valley Master Nia shook his head. "It's only 5 years worth of power. Young people should sharpen themselves more. If they gain some power out of nowhere, it won't be good for their future cultivation." Elder Zhang, seeing the two talking among themselves again, Zhang Xiaohua shook her head. Calm down, calm down. Isn't it just 5 years worth of power? I have a pill with 30 years worth of power in my hands, but I'm not wild with joy. Why are you guys so agitated?" Seeing the two discussing, Zhang Xiaohua couldn't help but cough and say, "Seniors, it's not 3 crimson flame pills, it's 5. The two were stunned and asked curiously, "Why 5? Then Valley Master Nia came to his senses and said, "Don't. We've already agreed that nephew will leave behind 3 crimson flame pills. How can we go back on our words?" Zhang Xiaohua shook her head. "Uncle Nia's words are too serious. I'm only 1 person. 1 pill is enough. Moreover, I still have other medicinal herbs. I can refine them later." Chapter 503. Zhang Xiaohua's words made Valley Head Nia and Elder Zhang see her in a new light. Valley Head Nia even probed. "Nephew Ren, you're spreading the incense cult. Aren't you looking for your brother? If he's spreading the incense cult, won't you leave him a crimson flame pill?" Zhang Xiaohua shook her head and said, "Didn't I make it clear to Uncle Nia just now? I've only used half of the herbs you gave me. I'll keep the other half. If I need it, I can refine more. Actually, if I didn't need a crimson flame pill as a reference, I would have left all 6 crimson flame pills for Rejuvenation Valley." Finishing her words, she took out the jade box from her bosom. Seeing the jade box, Valley Head Nia was startled and asked, "Nephew Ren, why don't you use a porcelain bottle to store the pills?" Zhang Xiaohua smiled and said, "Since the herbs need to be stored in a jade box, the formed pills need to be stored in a jade box as well. Of course, it's even better that Rejuvenation Valley has a jade bottle." "Oh, I see." Valley Head Nia suddenly understood. He had always used a porcelain bottle to store the pills for the sake of saving costs. Now that the crimson flame pill was for his own use, of course he would use the best container. Hearing this, Elder Zhang quickly took 2 jade bottles from the side. Zhang Xiaohua didn't stand on ceremony, and took one of them and poured a crimson flame pill into it. Then she handed the jade box and the remaining 5 crimson flame pills into Valley Head Nia's hands. She then plugged the jade bottle and casually put it in her bosom. Valley Head Nia had been talking the whole time, but his eyes never left Zhang Xiaohua. Now that he saw Zhang Xiaohua hand over the crimson flame pill, he was overjoyed. His decades of hope had finally come true today. Valley Head Nia and Elder Zhang both carefully took out a pill from the jade box and carefully examined it in front of their eyes. As they looked, they clicked their tongues in praise. This crimson flame pill was exactly as described in the scrolls. Suddenly Elder Zhang called out, What's going on? There seems to be a bit of light inside the crimson flame pill? Hearing this, Valley Head Nya also carefully examined it. Sure enough, he nodded and said, Yes, nephew Ren, there really seems to be a bit of light inside, but it's only seen inadvertently. If you look closely, you won't see it. Zhang Xiaohua was stunned. He immediately thought of the starlight he had seen in the medicinal liquid. He thought to himself, no way, I can still be seen? So she's still couldn't. But it was a formed pill after all. It was still a formed pill. Zhang's still couldn't. SSSS still couldn't penetrate it. Zhang's still a formed pills still a formed pill for it. When Zhang Xiaohua widened her eyes to take a closer look, it was indeed as Elder Zhang and Valley Head Nya had said. There were traces of light coming out from inside. In an instant, Zhang Xiaohua had a realization. The crimson flame pill had the protection of its outers. So hers divine sense couldn't penetrate it. But this light was not restricted by the crimson flame pill's formation, and could freely penetrate it. But thinking about it, it was normal. Light was a naturally born thing, and shouldn't be part of the 5 elements. All formations, and at least the ones that Zhang Xiaohua came into contact with, shouldn't be able to stop it. But even if Zhang Xiaohua knew this, what was the use? How was she going to explain it to the two of them? What kind of person was Zhang Xiaohua? What she knew the most was that she didn't know anything. She immediately shook her head like a rattledrum. This I don't know. I've followed the steps of refining the crimson flame pill completely without any mistakes. Seniors, just look at the shape of this pill and you should know. As for the light inside, is it from the outside? Or is there no specific record in the scroll? Valley Head Nya and Elder Zhang looked at each other helplessly. That's right, the scroll only described the appearance, color and effects of the pill, and didn't say anything else. Maybe the predecessors didn't read it carefully? Zhang Xiaohua continued, Seniors, it's best that you keep the 5 crimson flame pills quickly. If they're exposed for too long, they may lose their medicinal effects. Once she said this, the two of them didn't pursue the matter of the light or the shape. They hurriedly poured the crimson flame pills into the jade bottle, capped it, and carefully hid it in their clothes. After keeping the crimson flame pills, Valley Head Nya asked again, Nephew Ren, I've already discussed the effects of this crimson flame pill with Elder Zhang, but we didn't have a clue. We can only know after consuming it. But I still want to ask, is there any special way to consume it, or is there anything to take note of? Zhang Xiaohua stared blankly and asked curiously, Uncle Nya, this question is very strange. I've never seen the crimson flame pill before, so how would I know how to consume it? Elder Zhang smiled. To be honest with you, Xiaoxia, since you can refine this crimson flame pill, we all feel that you must know how to consume this pill. Zhang Xiaohua suddenly understood. That's right, the Rejuvenation Valley's legendary pill. Even the Rejuvenation Valley themselves don't know how to refine it. You, a person without any reason, can so easily refine it. If you've never refined it before or seen this pill before, even if people think with their feet, they may not believe it. Zhang Xiaohua understood and could only helplessly say, I won't hide it from you two seniors. This is indeed my first time refining this crimson flame pill, and I don't know how to consume it. At this point, Zhang Xiaohua's eyes lit up. The Jade Scroll casually mentioned the consumption of the Soothing Meridians pill. Because the Soothing Meridians pill was used to nourish and repair the meridians, the medicinal power needed to be sent into the meridians. After consuming the Soothing Meridians pill, one must immediately circulate the mental cultivation method, and allow the medicinal power to circulate throughout the meridians in the entire body for the best effect to be achieved. Thus, Zhang Xiaohua pretended to think and said, Actually, you two seniors are thinking too much. Since it's a pill that increases one's power, it must be related to one's inner strength. As long as you consume it while circulating your inner strength and circulate it a few times, for example, 36 or 72 circulations, it will definitely work. Valley Head Nya and Elder Zhang nodded thoughtfully. They definitely knew this point, but they wanted to know if the creator of the pill had a more pertinent suggestion. Thinking of this, Valley Head Nya couldn't help but touch the jade bottle in his arms. Seeing this, Zhang Xiaohua smiled and said, Uncle Nia isn't going to consume it right now, is he? Valley Head Nia smiled bitterly and said, This crimson flame pill is like a ball of fire in my hands. It burns my heart, and I only want to consume it to see its effects. However, the messenger of the fragrant order is currently in Rejuvenation Valley. How can I cultivate in seclusion at this time? Only after I send all of you away will I be able to consume it with peace of mind. Speaking of this, Valley Head Nia suddenly remembered something and said, Virtuous nephew Ren, I have a matter to entrust to you. I hope that virtuous nephew will agree for the sake of Rejuvenation Valley. Hearing this, Zhang Xiaohua's face became bitter. This accusation was so heavy that it probably wasn't a simple matter. However, he had no other choice and could only brace himself and say, Please instruct me, Uncle Nia. This nephew will do his best to accomplish it. Valley Head Nia nodded and turned to look at Elder Zhang. He smiled and said, Elder Zhang, please leave for a moment. Elder Zhang looked at the two strangely and said, Okay, I'll leave now and won't delay your conversation. After saying this, he stood up and left. However, just as Valley Head Nia was about to speak, he heard Elder Zhang say loudly from outside, Io Manager Yang, how have you been? I haven't seen you in a long time. Is this the messenger of your esteemed sect this year? When Valley Head Nia heard this, how could he still be bothered to instruct Zhang Xiaohua about matters? He walked out in quick steps. Zhang Xiaohua thought for a moment, and also followed him out. Outside the alchemy room, the masked messenger was passing by under the guidance of Manager Yang. He just happened to bump into Elder Zhang walking out of the alchemy room, and heard Manager Yang introduce him. Lord Kong, this is the previous generation elder of Rejuvenation Valley. His surname is Zhang, Elder Zhang. Lord Kong nodded slightly. Greetings, Elder Zhang. Elder Zhang seemed to be overwhelmed by the favor and hurriedly said, Greetings, Lord Kong. Lord Kong is in such a good mood to come to the inner valley of Rejuvenation Valley to admire the scenery? As they spoke, Valley Head Nia also walked out and saluted. Lord Kong, I have some worldly affairs to attend to in the valley, and am unable to accompany Lord into the valley. I'm really sorry for that. How does Lord feel about the scenery of Rejuvenation Valley? Lord Kong raised his head to look at the various medicinal gardens and casually said, Rejuvenation Valley is indeed unique. Although the space in the valley is small, it can be said to be small. It has all the essentials and the types of medicinal herbs are also extremely complete. It's really not bad. Although her words were directed at Valley Head Nia, her eyes were glancing at the scenery to the side. However, under the veil, how could others know? Valley Head Nia lowered his head and said, Thank you for your praise, Lord. Compared to your esteemed sect, it's as different as the clouds and mud. As they spoke, Manager Yang's gaze looked behind Valley Head Nia and he said loudly, Io Valley Head Nia, is this your little Yu's husband? He's indeed a talented person, just like the rumors outside. Of course, it was Zhang Xiaohua who slowly walked out of the pill room. When Valley Head Nia heard this, he immediately said, Yes, it's my Rejuvenation Valley's future son-in-law. He just came from at this point. He paused and glanced at Manager Yang before continuing. He just came from my place to ask Elder Zhang some questions. Come, Xiaoyao, greet Lord Kong, the envoy of the fragrant religion. This is Manager Yang that I mentioned to you before. You weren't feeling well yesterday, so I didn't let you greet them. Today, you can make up for it together. Damn, she was suddenly a generation younger. Zhang Xiaohua was helpless and could only go forward. Manager Yang was quite close and Zhang Xiaohua could only greet him first. Greetings, Manager Yang. Manager Yang looked at him with a smile, and really wanted to admire a junior. He said, Good. This child, if it weren't for his tender skin, his body would be like that of an 18 or 19-year-old youth. Immediately, he pulled his hand and pointed at Lord Kong. Come, let's first thank Lord Kong. If it weren't for her nod, it wouldn't have been easy for you to go to the fragrant religion. Lord Kong's eyes weren't looking at them. When he heard this, he unconsciously frowned and said, Manager Yang, this is your pill expansion hall's matter, but it's related to when he said this, he turned his head and saw Zhang Xiaohua in front of him. He couldn't say the rest of his words and stared straight at her without moving for a long time. Qidian. Chapter 504. Peacock retracted her gaze from the herb garden and turned around to look at Zhang Xiaohua as she spoke. The moment Peacock laid eyes on Zhang Xiaohua, she suddenly felt as if everything in the world had disappeared. The only thing left in this world was this man, this ordinary man. Her gaze was deeply attracted to him, like a moth drawn to a flame. All her attention was firmly drawn to him. Thump, thump, thump. Peacock's heart pounded violently, as if she was facing something that she had yearned for day and night, or something that she had been chasing for her entire life. Involuntarily, an unimaginable thought flashed across her mind. I must have it, I must have it. Then, she involuntarily raised her right hand, as if she wanted to grab hold of Zhang Xiaohua. When Valley Master Nie, Elder Zhang, and the others saw this, their expressions changed drastically. This was because the countless envoys from the spreading fragrance cult were extremely cold. They did not even bother with the Valley Master and elders of the Rejuvenation Valley, and would not waste their time on the medicine boy that they were going to choose. Although Zhang Xiaohua's identity was the future son-in-law of the Rejuvenation Valley's Valley Master, he was still only a little medicine boy in the spreading fragrance cult. Peacock's action was extremely strange. When Manager Yang heard Peacock's words, he immediately said respectfully, Master Kong, you are too kind. You are the envoy this time. If I don't listen to you, who else should I listen to? Come, Ren Xiaoyao, come and thank Master Kong for his grace. He lowered his head humbly, and then pulled Zhang Xiaohua forward. Only then did he notice Peacock's strange behavior, and he was stunned. He reminded, Master Kong? Master Kong? Ever since Zhang Xiaohua understood the heavenly Tao, his senses had become sharper. When Peacock saw his strange behavior, he immediately felt it. He immediately released his consciousness and looked through the thin veil. Cough, cough. That's right. What kind of time was it? Why would he still care about being polite? Behind the veil was a delicate and fair face. She had almond-shaped eyes, dark eyebrows, cherry lips, and a jade-like nose. There was also a dignified look in her eyes. Her temperament was incomparably graceful and luxurious, making people not dare to approach her. Zhang Xiaohua was stunned. The emissary of the fragrant religion was actually a young woman in her 20s who was more beautiful than Lu Qian and Oyen. However, at this moment, her eyebrows were slightly furrowed and her mouth was slightly agape. Her eyes flickered with incomparable astonishment and incomparable, desire. If this gaze was that of a man looking at a beautiful woman, Zhang Xiaohua might not have cared. However, this gaze was fixed on Zhang Xiaohua. Zhang Xiaohua could not help but be alarmed. Bad vegetable. Did you see something wrong? Zhang Xiaohua secretly complained in her heart. Next, the peacock reached out to grab him. Zhang Xiaohua hurriedly retracted his divine sense. With a thought, he used the incomplete God's traction mantra to conceal his divine sense and immortal Tao cultivation. At this moment, Peacock was also awakened by Manager Yang's words. Only then did she realize that she had lost her composure. She immediately covered it up and pointed at Manager Yang. She said, "This is the Ren Xiaoyao you mentioned yesterday?" Manager Yang did not dare to make any more guesses. He bowed and smiled apologetically. "That's him. He is the son-in-law of Rejuvenation Valley's Valley Master Nie personally selected. Come, Ren Xiaoyao, quickly come and thank Master Kong." Zhang Xiaohua retracted her aura and took 2 quick steps forward. She bowed deeply. "Thank you, Master Kong. I hope that Master Kong will continue to support me in the future." When Peacock looked at Zhang Xiaohua again, she realized that she was no longer as attractive as before. Peacock was puzzled. What happened just now? Was it an illusion? Suddenly, a sense of embarrassment rose in her heart. Could this be the legendary? Seeing immediately, her heart was in a mess. How can this be? I have never seen him before. He is just a little medicine boy. What's more hateful is that this Ren Xiaoyao is the future son-in-law of Rejuvenation Valley. Also, the most hateful thing was that although Zhang Xiaohua bowed respectfully with a proper attitude, Peacock could feel that she had no respect at all. Yes, not even the slightest bit. It must be said that a woman's heart was like a needle in the ocean. Peacock was the same as a goddess. For no reason, Peacock felt a tinge of displeasure. She did not retract her outstretched hand. Instead, she pointed and said, You are the Ren Xiaorao who defeated the sword master of Longting Villa and defeated the combined attack of 4 people in the arena? Zhang Xiaohua replied gently. I wouldn't dare. That's me. When the word me entered her ears, Peacock was even more displeased. She moved her hand and struck out with her palm. Let me see how good you are at martial arts. Seeing Master Kong's sudden attack, Steward Yang and Valley Master Nia were shocked. They cried out, Master, please have mercy. But neither of them dared to take a step forward, let alone lend a helping hand. Zhang Xiaohua retracted his spiritual sense. He did not expect Peacock to be in trouble. When he noticed, the white palm was already in front of him. Zhang Xiaohua frowned. Although he could not use his spiritual sense, he could tell that the palm contained an infinite amount of inner energy just by listening to the sound of the wind. Zhang Xiaohua was puzzled. I didn't offend this Lord Kong. Why is he staring at me the moment we meet? Although I am handsome, you are a woman. You don't have to resort to underhanded means. Besides, you covered your face first and didn't let me see your beautiful face. I didn't even look at you blasphemously. How could you do that? However, at this moment, Zhang Xiaohua was no longer the same as before. Even if he hastily faced the enemy, he was not afraid. His body did not move, but he raised his left arm, and his palm also straightened, and directly faced the attack. However, just as the true qi entered his palm, he thought in his heart, this Lord Kong only said that I defeated Longting Villa's sword prince, but I can't reveal my true strength. Oh, right. Could it be that this woman actually wants to test my martial arts? What did she see? So he immediately simulated the vital energy into inner energy, and adjusted the amount of inner energy to be slightly higher than Master Long's. As he spoke, the 2 palms collided. A powerful wave of inner energy crashed into Zhang Xiaohua's palm. Zhang Xiaohua did not dare to use any more vital energy. He only felt the force of the collision. Zhang Xiaohua's body was sent flying back into the alchemy room behind him. When the 2 palms collided, Peacock felt the normal amount of inner energy in Zhang Xiaohua's palm. She even felt the warmth in his palm. Her heart was in a mess. She could not control the energy in her palm. The inner energy rushed out like a tidal wave. When Zhang Xiaohua was sent flying, she was startled. She immediately retracted her inner energy. She could not help but cry out, ouch. After the cry of ouch, not only did her veil ripple, her feet also moved half a step forward. She had lost her composure once again. But at this time, everyone was looking at the flying Zhang Xiaohua. No one noticed the high and mighty messenger's second loss of composure. Zhang Xiaohua was sent flying in the air. He circulated the vital energy in his meridians and stabilized his body. However, he did not stop immediately. Instead, he used the momentum to fly backwards. The door of Elder Zhang's alchemy room was half closed. Zhang Xiaohua said in his heart, I'm sorry, Elder Zhang. Tonight, your room is going to leak in. A loud bang was heard. The fragile bamboo door of the alchemy room was shattered into pieces. Zhang Xiaohua did not slow down. He only stopped when a loud bang was heard. Ren Xiaoxia. Elder Zhang was shocked. He rushed into the alchemy room. Valley Master Nia also took a step forward. But he looked at Peacock, who was standing there quietly. She had regained her composure. Then he looked at Steward Yang, who was also confused. He finally stopped. Bad luck, really bad luck. Zhang Xiaohua, who was in the alchemy room, was very depressed. I didn't go out for a walk this morning. I didn't hear any crows in the valley. How did I encounter such a thing? That Master Kong looks so beautiful. Why did he hit me so hard? The strength of his palm. How was he trying to test my power? It was more like he wanted me to be injured. He did not know Peacock's emotions. He only thought that Peacock did not hold back. But when he thought of the word injured, his eyes turned and he quickly bit his tongue. A stream of blood seeped out from the corner of his mouth. At this time, Elder Zhang also rushed into the alchemy room. Seeing the blood at the corner of Zhang Xiaohua's mouth, he said in shock, Ren Xiaoxia, you're injured? Zhang Xiaohua looked weak and said, Sigh, my internal organs were injured by Master Kong. Elder Zhang was also helpless. What could he say? He was just a has-been elder of Rejuvenation Valley. Coming to see Zhang Xiaohua without permission was already his limit. He helped Zhang Xiaohua out of the alchemy room. Everyone present saw the blood at the corner of Zhang Xiaohua's mouth. The people of the fragrant cult were naturally used to seeing this. They did not feel any sympathy. Valley Master Nie asked with concern. Xiaoyao, how are your injuries? Zhang Xiaohua shook her head. It's nothing, just some minor internal injuries. Peacock saw Zhang Xiaohua so weak, and seemed to be relieved. But there was another emotion that was worse than relief. That was heartache. Peacock asked coldly, Ren Xiaoyao, your inner energy is not bad. What kind of martial arts do you practice? Zhang Xiaohua was stunned and said, Frenzied Bull's Strength. Frenzied Bull's Strength? Peacock was also surprised. What kind of inner energy is that? Manager Yang immediately explained, Master Kong, Frenzied Bull's Strength is a common type of inner energy in Jianghu. It is the easiest to learn and will not cause any deviation. Our fragrant cult does not have such a crude inner energy heart technique. Oh, Frenzied Bull's Strength cannot be a heart technique either. Oh, I see. Peacock seemed to have come to a realization, but after listening to the explanation, she felt a wave of annoyance in her heart. She waved her hand and said, Ren Xiaoyao, I was just curious just now. I knew you were the champion of the arena competition, so I wanted to test your martial arts skills. But I was a little reckless and caused you to be injured. She thought for a while, and did not say the words of apology. She then took out a small jade bottle and threw it to Zhang Xiaohua, saying, This is the Yuhuandan pill that we use to heal injuries. Take it and heal yourself. Valley Master Nie and Elder Zhang heard this, and their faces turned pale with fright. Chapter 505. Not only were Valley Head Nie and Elder Zhang shocked, even Manager Yang and the rest of the people from the Cult of Incense had looks of envy on their faces. Zhang Xiaohua was also shocked in his heart. He had seen the name of this jade rejuvenation pill in the jade slip, but he had not paid much attention to its effects. However, as long as it was a pill recorded in the jade slip, how bad could it be? Zhang Xiaohua reached out to receive it and bowed. Thank you for the medicine, Master Kong. I am fine. Peacock saw that Zhang Xiaohua was neither servile nor overbearing and felt much better. She said, We will be leaving tomorrow morning. Rest well and don't miss tomorrow's journey. After she finished speaking, she turned around and walked away. Manager Yang followed closely behind in astonishment. During this time, he even turned around to look at Zhang Xiaohua in bewilderment. He thought to himself, this guy isn't the gigolo type. Why did he catch Lord Kong's eye the moment he saw him? Could it be that they have met before? But Master Kong is an outstanding disciple of the inner sect, and has never left the Cult of Incense. How could he know this kid from the mountains? Little you, if my guess is right, your fiancé is going to fly away. After the people from the Cult of Incense left, Valley Head Nie and Elder Zhang turned around. Valley Head Nie was especially concerned. Nephew Ren, how are your injuries? Elder Zhang was also indignant. Master Kong is too much. He was just testing the level of his martial arts. He did not have to be so ruthless. Valley Head Nie shook his head and said, Who knows? The previous envoys of the fragrant religion were all from the inner sect. All of them were highly skilled in martial arts and their actions were unreasonable. This Master Kong is considered good. Alas, maybe yesterday Manager Yang made a decision on his own, and made some decisions which made Master Kong unhappy. Elder Zhang nodded. That's right. Although the matter of letting Rinpochian enter the incense cult is managed by the Pill Expanding Hall, Master Kong is the envoy this time after all. Manager Yang's report was a little late. Forget it. As long as Nephew Ren can go, Rejuvenation Valley will have fulfilled our promise to you. Valley Head Nie smiled and said to Zhang Xiaohua. Zhang Xiaohua did not know what was going on. She thought it made sense. She did not know Master Kong, and had no reason to find trouble with her. It must be because of the issue of entering the Cult of Incense. However, Master Kong had no reason to be so surprised to see her. This was something that Zhang Xiaohua could not understand no matter how he thought about it. Valley Head Nie looked at Zhang Xiaohua's mouth and asked again, Nephew Ren, how are your injuries? Do you want to rest in the pill refining room? Soon after, one of them fervently looked at the jade bottle in his hand. Hurry up and take a jade restoration pill. This is a legendary panacea for treating internal injuries. I heard that no matter how serious the injury is, just one pill can completely cure it. You can try it now. Is that so? Zhang Xiaohua was astonished. She had seen everyone's gaze just now and knew that the Yuhuandan pill was not simple. But she did not expect it to be so miraculous. Of course, this is a healing elixir specially used by the inner disciples of the fragrant cult. In the past, I only heard about it from Manager Yang. Even he, the manager of the pill repository hall, has only heard about it and has never obtained it. Ah! Zhang Xiaohua smiled and opened the pill of incense. She poured out 2 pills and threw them to Valley Head Nia. Valley Head Nia, please accept them. Treat it as a gift from a junior. Valley Head Nia was caught off guard and caught it in a panic. He was both happy and uneasy. Nephew Run, this is from Master Kong. Moreover, your injuries. Zhang Xiaohua smiled and wiped the blood from her mouth. She said faintly, it's nothing. I just accidentally bit my lips. Dang 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 dang. With 2 crisp sounds, Valley Master Nia and Elder Zhang both fell to the ground. When the 2 got up from the ground, rubbing their heads, Zhang Xiaohua suddenly thought, Uncle Nia, didn't you have something to tell me? Valley Head Nia thought for a moment and said, Nephew Run, let's go to your pill refining room. The 2 bid farewell to Elder Zhang. Elder Zhang looked at the crimson flame pill in Valley Head Nia's arms with resentment. Yes, there was also the Yuhuandan pill. They came to the pill refining room where Zhang Xiaohua was temporarily staying. After listening carefully and making sure that there was no one outside, Valley Head Nia said, Nephew Run, little you must have already informed you yesterday. The trip to the cult of incense has been confirmed. Today, Master Kong has also given his approval. You should pack up today. Tomorrow, you will follow the 9 medicine apprentices of Rejuvenation Valley to the cult of incense. Zhang Xiaohua nodded and said, Thank you, Uncle Nia, for your help. Valley Head Nia waved his hand. You don't have to be so polite. However, although the medicine apprentices of Rejuvenation Valley have nothing to do with Rejuvenation Valley once they leave Rejuvenation Valley, they are still people of Rejuvenation Valley. The reliability of these medicine apprentices, and their future actions in the cult of incense, will affect Rejuvenation Valley's reputation. Moreover, to be honest, Nephew Run, I thought of it too simply. I didn't think that it would be as simple as being a medicine apprentice in the cult of incense. Hearing this, Zhang Xiaohua bowed again. Uncle Nia, don't worry. I will definitely remember your kindness in helping me. Moreover, I know my own weight. When I arrive at the cult of incense, I will not cause trouble and drag Rejuvenation Valley into trouble. Valley Head Nia smiled and said, It's best that Nephew Run thinks this way. Actually, I'm not worried about Nephew Run. Although Nephew Run has only stayed in Rejuvenation Valley for half a year, the impact of this half a year on Rejuvenation Valley can be said to be. Valley Head Nia seemed to be unable to find the right words. It can be said that the impact is far-reaching. It can't be said that it has become a brand new Rejuvenation Valley, but it's almost there. Moreover, Nephew Run is kind-hearted and has a calm personality. She will definitely not bring trouble to Rejuvenation Valley. I am very relieved about this. However, among the 10 medicine apprentices who are going to the cult of incense this time, other than Nephew Run, there is another person who is just there to make up the numbers. Zhang Xiaohua was shocked and said, What do you mean, Uncle Nia? Thus, Valley Head Nia explained the matter in full detail. After Valley Head Nia finished, Zhang Xiaohua frowned. She suddenly felt that this seemingly normal nepotism was extremely abnormal. After pondering for a moment, Zhang Xiaohua probed, Uncle Nia, what do you mean? A trace of cold light flashed through Valley Head Nia's eyes. Honorable Nephew Run, this old man will entrust you with a task. If you discover that this domineering fellow has any other intentions, please don't let this fellow do anything harmful to Rejuvenation Valley on account of this old man recommending you to spread the incense order. With a frown, Zhang Xiaohua fell into deep thought. This matter didn't sound difficult, but if she seriously thought about it, it would be troublesome. She was only going to inquire about second brother's news. Although she had the title of Rejuvenation Valley's son-in-law, he was only a prospective son-in-law. Everything about the cult of incense was still unknown. If she agreed to Valley Head Nia's request, She would have no choice but to place some of her thoughts on this nephew Run who had no relationship with her at all. Seeing Zhang Xiaohua's somewhat difficult expression, Valley Head Nia gritted his teeth and said, "Nephew Run, this old man knows that this matter is somewhat difficult for you. There are many hidden dragons and crouching tigers in the cult of incense, and I don't know how many experts there are. However, you should also think about it. If Nephew Run were to do something outrageous, wouldn't it implicate hundreds and thousands of innocent people in Rejuvenation Valley? Even little you would find it difficult to escape. Furthermore, Nephew Run, since you were not injured by Lord Kong's palm, I believe that your martial arts skills are not inferior to Manager Yang's. I have already instructed Manager Yang to take care of this matter. If it is inconvenient for him, I would like you to take action on his behalf. What do you think?" Zhang Xiaohua sighed and said, "If that is the case, Uncle Nia, this nephew will agree to your request. However, I have to say the ugly words first. If I were to act, then Nephew Ren Valley Head Nia understood and nodded. This old man understands. I want you to act to cut the weeds and eliminate the roots. There is no need to leave any leeway." Zhang Xiaohua also nodded. Since it is like this nephew will agree to Uncle Nia's request. Valley Head Nia cupped his hands. If Nephew Ren were to act, then this old man would have no worries. Subsequently, Valley Head Nia told Zhang Xiaohua about the situation that Manager Yang had told him yesterday. After listening, Zhang Xiaohua could not help but frown. It is peaceful to be a medicine boy. However, to be an outer disciple, what kind of tests do you have to pass to be able to roam the Jianghu? This is somewhat difficult. Not to mention the difficulties of roaming the Jianghu. As long as you become an outer disciple, you will have to join the fragrant religion. If you were to make things difficult for the fragrant religion in the future, wouldn't you be acting without justification? This seems to have deviated from your original plan. Seeing Zhang Xiaohua like this, Valley Head Nia was somewhat embarrassed. Nephew Ren, this old man did not understand these things before. I thought that I would just be a medicine boy. I did not expect. Zhang Xiaohua smiled and said, Uncle Nia, what are you thinking? This nephew is just a bit surprised. There are too many rules in this fragrant religion. I have no complaints about other things. Being able to enter the fragrant religion is all thanks to Uncle Nia's matchmaking. This nephew is very grateful. At this time, Zhang Xiaohua had already thought it through. Of course, taking the normal route would not be easy. However, aren't we practitioners of the way of immortals? We have countless methods to confuse martial artists. Since the normal route is not possible, then we will take the abnormal route. We will pretend to be dead and escape underground. Oh, if that does not work, we will escape using fire. Could it be that we can't sneak out? In any case, she could not first be a medicine boy, then an outer disciple, and then pass some tests. How tiring would that be? On the other side, Valley Head Nia asked, what does Nephew Ren plan to do? Zhang Xiaohua rubbed her chin. The situation is stronger than the person. Uncle Nia, since we are in other people's territory, what is there for this nephew to be calculative about? It is only the arrangements of others. In any case, this nephew is only here to inquire about the news of my brothers. If I can learn some of the fragrant religion's martial arts, TSK, this nephew would naturally be more than happy to do so. Valley Head Nia nodded and repeated Manager Yang's words. Zhang Xiaohua was naturally endlessly grateful. After chatting for a while, and explaining some of the fragrant religion's rules and taboos, Valley Head Nia finally walked out unhurriedly. At this time, the sun was already setting in the west. Zhang Xiaohua stood at the entrance of the pill room, and looked at the rejuvenation valley that she had lived in for half a year. She had an indescribable feeling in her heart. Calm. There are more chapters. Support the author. Support the original reading. Chapter 506. To Zhang Xiaohua, coming to Rejuvenation Valley was definitely a coincidence. He never thought that he would be able to stay here for half a year. Furthermore, thinking about the rewards he had gained here, it could be said that it was fruitful. It was more pleasing to the eye than the fruits of autumn. Thinking about it, the art of alchemy, the art of making weapons, the art of alchemy, the heavenly Tao of the human body, the meridian-nourishing pill, the jade water sword. Just thinking about it made Zhang Xiaohua want to cover his mouth and laugh. However, was this all that he had gained? Looking at the clouds in the azure sky, Zhang Xiaohua could not help but feel disappointed. Faintly, he felt that he had not included the most important thing in his calculations. But how could he include her in his calculations? He almost could not grasp his own thoughts. It was more difficult than comprehending the heavenly Tao. Perhaps he would have an explanation today. After all, he was leaving early in the morning. Zhang Xiaohua thought so. Unexpectedly, Nie Qianyu, who usually came to Zhang Xiaohua's place when she had nothing to do, did not show up for the entire afternoon. It was as if she did not realize that Zhang Xiaohua was leaving the next day. Zhang Xiaohua did not have much to pack. After staying outside the alchemy room for a while, he returned. He sat cross-legged and pondered over the mantra to conceal his cultivation. This was too important. The scene of him encountering the incense order's emissary, Lord Kong, was still fresh in his mind. He did not think that this seemingly cold Lord Kong was simply testing his martial arts. If not for the fact that his actual strength was far beyond what he had shown, that simple palm strike would have seriously injured him. But to be able to trick the Yuhuandan pill out of a simple bite of the tongue was really out of his expectations. This Lord Kong was really rich and imposing. Zhang Xiaohua did not know that Peacock, who was sitting cross-legged on the white blanket, was also deep in thought. She could not suppress the irritation in her heart. Peacock really did not know why she had lost her composure. This Zhang Xiaohua was just an ordinary disciple of the pugilistic world. His looks were average and his figure was thin. No matter where she looked from, there was no reason for her to be attracted to him. The cult of incense never forbade its disciples from having feelings for each other. Peacock was a typical example amongst the inner disciples, and it was unknown how many of the elites in the sect secretly admired her. But the female disciples of the cult of incense were mostly indifferent towards feelings, and Peacock was the same. So until now, there had not been a formal or suitable disciple who could make her fall in love. But today, on an ordinary afternoon, a sunny afternoon, an ordinary medicine boy, a youth who was said to be only 15 years old, actually made her feel like he was the only one in the world. This was simply impossible, simply inconceivable. That faint smile, that neither servile nor overbearing salute, and that instant of warmth when their palms touched, caused a great wave of emotions to surge through Peacock's heart. The humble way of addressing her as little one, the lowly status of medicine boy, and the flattering recommendation from Valleyhead Nia and the others made Peacock's heart burn with a strong sense of shame and anger. Whether this shame and anger was directed at Zhang Xiaohua or herself, she could not tell. At the same time, the trace of blood at the corner of Zhang Xiaohua's mouth caused her to feel a faint pain in her heart, but also a trace of satisfaction. Sigh. Peacock let out a long sigh. She lifted her eyes to look out the window at the setting sun. She thought to herself, entering the world. Is this entering the world? I have been practicing martial arts with all my heart, hoping to see the truth of the world. I do not want to be shackled by worldly affairs. But Master forced this mission to leave the valley on me. He wants me to enter the world to train myself, hoping that I will be able to gain something from this short journey. But this simple journey to Rejuvenation Valley has caused me to encounter such an inexplicable dilemma. Could it be that this young man is destined to be? Peacock's face blushed slightly under the veil. She shook her head to herself. That may not be the case. This brat is only 15 years old. He is supposed to be Rejuvenation Valley's son-in-law. Why would I want to snatch him for no reason? It's so boring. It must be a coincidence that made me feel this way. I can only say that my worldly fate has yet to be fulfilled, and I still have something in my heart. With this explanation in her heart, Peacock's heart calmed down slightly. That must be it. Why else would the feeling I had when I first saw him be different from later on? If there is fate, this feeling should not change. Rejuvenation Valley, Peach Blossom Forest, Peach Blossom Nunnery. Nie Qianyu stared blankly at the peach trees outside the window. The brilliant peach blossoms of spring had long turned into spring mud. Countless peaches had borne fruit. But where was the fruit she wanted? Nie Qianyu's eyes looked at the peach blossom forest. Her mind kept flashing back to the days and nights she spent with Zhang Xiaohua. Many details she thought she had long forgotten were inadvertently recalled at this moment. But the more she thought about it, the more bitter she felt. An unintentional encounter was going to end tomorrow. A fate that had a beautiful beginning but did not have a perfect ending. Was this what it meant to be fated but not meant to be? Picking up the comb on the table, Nie Qianyu unconsciously combed her dark hair. This was usually done by Little Orange, but now it was the best way for Nie Qianyu to sort out her worries. However, it was easy to comb her hair, but difficult to untie her feelings. Not to mention the thousands of knots that had been tied in her heart. Perhaps only he could untie these knots with his own hands. Not far away, Little Orange worriedly looked at the young miss who was looking out the window while combing her hair. She did not know how to comfort her. Ever since she came back last night, Nie Qianyu had been so listless. It was as if her entire soul was outside. Last night at the banquet to welcome the incense cult, there was some laughter, but the rest of the time she was like this. Alas, who could understand Nie Qianyu's thoughts better than her? Who could truly understand Nie Qianyu's feelings? In an instant, the back of a young man holding a long sword with boundless momentum appeared in Little Orange's mind. That back was so attractive that her eyes were firmly glued to it. For a long time, she was unwilling to look away. While she was lost in thought, the sound of the stairs creaking suddenly came from below. Little Orange turned her head and saw Valley Master Nie walking up the stairs. Little Orange saw him and quickly bowed. She was about to greet Nie Qianyu when Valley Master Nie quickly waved his hand and shook his head gently. Little Orange saw this and worriedly looked at Nie Qianyu before carefully retreating. Valley Master Nie walked lightly to Nie Qianyu's side. Looking at his beloved daughter's empty eyes and frozen expression, his heart ached. He sighed softly. Little you, it was not until he called her 3 times that Nie Qianyu came back to her senses. Seeing that it was her father, she quickly said, "When did father come?" After she finished speaking, she was about to stand up and bow. Valley Master Nie held her shoulders and smiled. "Father also just came in. You should sit down." As he spoke, Valley Master Nie also sat down on the ground beside Nie Qianyu. Father Nie Qianyu looked at her father's behavior, and her small mouth was a bit flat. In Nie Qianyu's memory, when her mother had just passed away, her father would always casually sit beside her like this and look at her lovingly, whether it was reading medicine books or doing needlework. However, as she grew older and the affairs in the valley became more and more busy, her father had not sat beside her like this for a long time. Valley Master Nie smiled kindly and reached out to stroke his daughter's hair. "Little you have grown up. Father is also old. Alas, but there are some things that I can't do for you. Although I really want to, but you still have to rely on yourself. Ren Xiaoyao. I know that what I want to do can only end here." He was extremely unwilling to say the 3 words Ren Xiaoyao here for fear that it would affect his daughter's feelings. Fortunately, when Nie Qianyu heard it, her eyes only reddened and she did not have much of a reaction. She also sighed. "Father, I understand what you mean. When you asked Big Brother Ren to stay and promised to send him to the fragrant religion, I already knew. He is a person of unknown origin. If you didn't want to give me a chance and give him a favor, how could you recommend him to the fragrant religion? After all, he is brother-in-law's cousin. Back then, Uncle Yu personally looked for you and you didn't agree. This is putting the lifeline of our rejuvenation valley on the line." Valley Master Nie smiled bitterly. "I originally wanted to repay Ren Xiaoyao's kindness in escorting you back. I also wanted to send him to the fragrant religion, and then use our rejuvenation valley's elixirs and alchemy skills to create conditions for you. Who knew? Alas, this Ren Xiaoyao and this Beidou school actually returned to our rejuvenation valley something that far exceeded what we gave him. In this way, recommending him to the fragrant religion would not be obvious." And Valley Master Nie solemnly took out a jade bottle from his bosom and handed it to Nie Qianyu, saying, "And this Ren Xiaoyao actually refined the legendary Crimson Flame elixir, and only kept 1 for himself. The other 5 were all given to our rejuvenation valley." Nie Qianyu was a little surprised and then smiled. "I don't find it strange that Big Brother Ren can refine the Crimson Flame elixir. He seems to be a deity and there is nothing he can't do. I didn't go to the pill room at noon for the same reason. However, Big Brother Run has never suffered losses. Why did he change his mind this time, and only keep one for himself? Valley Master Nia smiled. Why don't you think about it? Looking at her father's half-smile, Nia Qianyu blushed and said in a voice as small as a mosquito, Is it for me? What do you think? Valley Master Nia still asked in return. A trace of spirit appeared in Nia Qianyu's eyes. Then he should have given it to me personally. Why did he have to go through father's hands? Valley Master Nia smiled. How would father know the thoughts of a young man? Perhaps he is thin-skinned. In any case, I advised him to keep the elixir for his brother, but he said to give it to the person who needs it the most. Then his smile became even wider, saying, But in this rejuvenation valley, who needs to improve their skills the most? Valley Master Nia had thought that Nia Qianyu would laugh through her tears, and even blame him shyly after hearing these words. However, when Nia Qianyu heard these words, her face instantly paled, and there was some despair in her eyes. She bit her lips and didn't say a word. Valley Master Nia thought to himself, Oh no, I don't know what I said wrong. Chapter 507. Valley Head Nia originally wanted to comfort his daughter by saying that Zhang Xiaohua wanted to leave the Crimson Flame pill for Nia Qianyu to increase her power. However, Nia Qianyu's expression changed drastically. Valley Head Nia forced a smile and said, What's wrong? Little you. Did I say something wrong? After a long while, Nia Qianyu said in a low voice, Brother Run is right. I am the one who needs to increase my power the most in Rejuvenation Valley. However, father, with my martial arts, even if I take the Crimson Flame pill, I will not be able to catch up to you. How can I accompany Brother Ren to roam the pugilistic world? Valley Head Nia laughed and said, You want to roam the pugilistic world just like that? Nia Qianyu said shyly, Why not? Brother Ren's martial arts are so high. If I can't be on par with him, how can I? Haha. If one Crimson Flame pill is not enough, we will take 2. If 2 is not enough, we will take 3. Valley Head Nia said generously. Alas. Nia Qianyu sighed. Although her face was still red, she said, Father, you don't have to comfort me. This medicinal pill is only effective for the first time. It's useless to take more. I don't believe that you don't know this. Valley Head Nia's face was a little awkward. Cough cough, it is better to take it than not. This is Brother Ren's good intention. You should accept it. After he finished speaking, he was about to put the jade bottle into Nia Qianyu's hands. However, Nia Qianyu shook her head and pushed the jade bottle back. She said in a low voice, Father, don't deceive me. You are the one who planned to take the Crimson Flame pill. Valley Head Nia was stunned but said, No, my Crimson Flame pill is in the pill room then. Looking at Nia Qianyu's somewhat reproachful eyes, he shook his head and said, Little you, sometimes being too smart may not be a good thing. Nia Qianyu looked out of the window and said, Brother Ren has always been clear about public and private matters. If he wanted to give it to me, he would definitely leave one for me. Since he gave all the pills to father, it naturally means that he gave them to Rejuvenation Valley. Perhaps everyone in Rejuvenation Valley needs the Crimson Flame pill to increase their power, but only I don't. Because 5 years of power is completely meaningless to a weak girl like me who has yet to achieve martial arts. Don't think so, father. Valley Master Nia didn't speak. He quietly looked at his daughter who had regained her composure. Nia Qianyu continued. Father's internal strength has been stuck at a bottleneck in recent years, and has not been able to improve for a long time. Although the method of circulating internal strength that Big Brother Ren taught is very good, father's internal strength is still limited and cannot be practiced to perfection. If we can obtain the help of this Crimson Flame pill, success will be achieved naturally, and our internal strength will enter a new realm. This method of refining pills will also be successful, and our Rejuvenation Valley will be able to refine real pills. And you giving this pill to your daughter is really like trying to put out a burning cart with a cup of water. After Valley Master Nia finished listening to his daughter, his expression was still calm as he softly said, You know, Xiaoyu, ever since your mother passed away, your face has never revealed a true smile. Although sometimes I see you smile very sweetly, Father knows that your heart is not really happy. Although Father knows that going out this time has some risks, on one hand, you want to be strong and have to go. On the other hand, Father also hopes that you can go out and see the outside world so that you can open your heart. During the period when there was no news of you, Father was very distressed and often regretted his decision. I was afraid that something would happen to you. Father has let down your mother who passed away early. But you came back safely. Not only did you fulfill your desire to be strong, you also brought back your laughter. You know, Xiaoyu, Father saw you looking at Ren Xiaoyao with a faint smile. Father was very happy. Although your smile was not as bright as before, Father knew that it came from the bottom of your heart. It was a happy smile. That was how Father felt when I met your mother. So, when Ren Xiaoyao was about to leave the next day, Father agreed to your Uncle Yu's suggestion without hesitation. I know that your Uncle Yu made this suggestion because he was dissatisfied with my rejection back then, and wanted to see how I would deal with it. But Xiaoyu, if Father didn't agree, Ren Xiaoyao would leave immediately. I saw your despair and sadness in your eyes. Father would rather lose Rejuvenation Valley than let you be sad. Father only wants you to be happy and happy. Father also hopes that you can have a good start in these 4 to 5 months. Father is also willing to take this risk just for this beautiful start. But Father, I don't look like a fairy and my martial arts are also very weak. Although I have been with Brother Ren for such a long time, I know that his heart is not with me. Valley Master Nia smiled and said, Xiaoyu, it is important for a girl to be beautiful and have excellent martial arts. But these are only a few aspects. You also have intelligence that other girls don't have. This is your strength. You can't compare your shortcomings with other people's strengths. Then he asked, moreover, does your brother Ren already have a girl he likes? This. Nie Qinyu was a little hesitant. It seems that he does, but it also seems that he doesn't. I don't understand. Valley Master Nie nodded and said, since you didn't say it clearly, then you don't have one. Xiaoyu, aren't you always strong? Why are you so weak now? Ren Xiaoyao's martial arts is now something that even Father can't understand. If he goes to Chuanxiang religion to study for a few more years, even if he doesn't take the name of Chuanxiang religion, he will still be one of the top in Jianghu. This is a delicious cake. It's rare for you to have the opportunity to be close to him. You must not give up. Father, who is the delicious cake? Who wants to snatch it? Nie Qianyu's face turned red again, full of a little girl's attitude. Seeing his daughter's active mind, Valley Master Nie knew that his words had an effect. So he didn't dare to say more. He took out a jade bottle and said, Xiaoyu, didn't you always want to see Chuanxiang religion's Yuhuandin pill? Here it is, in this bottle. Really? Nie Qianyu was surprised. Uncle Yang gave it to you? Why didn't he mention it yesterday? Valley Master Nie saw that he had successfully diverted Nie Qianyu's attention, and said with a smile, Old Yang, with his appearance, if he had it, he would have taken it out long ago. He is just a steward of the pill opening hall. He always hid it from me, thinking that I don't know. When he came back for the 3rd time, he was drunk and spilled the truth. He just comes out often and his position in the pill opening hall is also ordinary. Steward, it's just a gimmick when he goes out. How could he have the Yuhuandin pill? Nie Qianyu was even more surprised. Did the messenger give it to him? But it can't be. The previous messengers were extremely indifferent. They didn't say anything and didn't even let us look at their faces. How could they just give us the Rejuvenation Valley, such a healing medicine? Valley Master Nie blinked. Little you, why don't you guess how I got the Jade Rejuvenation pill? Nie Qianyu shook her head. I only know that it should have been given by the messenger. As for why, I don't know. Ha, Valley Master Nie laughed. You don't know Master Kong went to the inner valley to play today. When he saw Ren Xiaoyao, he thought of the martial arts competition on the arena, and reached out to test him. He accidentally injured Ren Xiaoyao, so he took it out without waiting for Valley Master Nie to finish speaking. Nie Qianyu stood up and said urgently, Oh father, why are you still laughing? Brother Ren is injured, right? How is his injury? Did he take the Yuhuandin pill? Will he still be able to preach the incense religion tomorrow? Valley Master Nie secretly shook his head at the series of questions. He pulled Nie Qianyu and said with a smile, "Xiao Yu, sit down. Your brother Run is not injured at all." Nie Qianyu was stunned and said, "Master Kong took out the Yuhuandan pill. How can he be fine?" Valley Master Nie smiled and told her what happened at noon. Although she knew that Zhang Xiaohua was fine, Nie Qianyu's face still turned pale. Until she heard Zhang Xiaohua shamelessly say, "I'm fine, I just bit my lip." She could not help but spit and said with a smile, "This guy can't take any losses. Master Kong only tested his skills, and he extorted a bottle of Yuhuandan pill from him." However, she immediately asked with concern, "How many pills did Master Kong give Brother Rin?" "He gave it to Father and Elder Zhang." "How many pills does he have?" Valley Master Nie waved his hand and said, "You said it yourself, this guy can't take any losses. He obviously still has a lot in his bottle, otherwise he would not have given us 2 pills. Alright, I'll give this one to you. You can only protect yourself. If anything happens, you can let Father be at ease." Nie Qianyu smiled and said, "No need, Father. I will not leave Rejuvenation Valley. How can I encounter any accidents? You can take it." Valley Master Nie was resolute in not taking it and said, "If you don't go out now, you can't guarantee that you won't go out in the future. Don't you still want to roam the Jianghu?" "Father," Nie Qianyu rebuked and casually took the bottle of Yuhuandan pill. However, Nie Qianyu immediately felt a bit strange and said, "Father, think about it. Why would Master Kong of the incense religion want to test Brother Ren's martial arts? Even if it was a test, she must have a sense of propriety and would not harm Brother Ren. Moreover, even if Brother Ren was not injured, how could Master Kong not see it?" These questions made Valley Master Nie speechless. Yes, Valley Master Nie had clearly seen Master Kong's loss of self-control. However, he did not dare to make wild guesses. Secondly, he believed that there was no relationship between Master Kong and Zhang Xiaohua. Thirdly, and most importantly, he did not dare to tell Nie Qianyu about Master Kong's loss of self-control. He was afraid that it would cause Nie Qianyu to misunderstand. How could a girl who was in love have a normal intelligence? If there were any unusual actions because of this, it would not be good for anyone. Therefore, Valley Master Nie also took out the weapon that Zhang Xiaohua was accustomed to using and said with a smile, "I don't know about this." However, Nie Qianyu frowned and thought to herself. Valley Master Nie saw this and said, "All right, little you, Father will leave now. If you want to know why, you can ask your brother Ren. Perhaps he will know." "Ai," Nie Qianyu sighed. "Let me think about it again." Valley Master Nie shook his head and turned to go downstairs. A jade bottle was left at the place where Valley Master Nie had been standing. Come and read more chapters. Support the author. Support the original reading. Chapter 508. After thinking for a long time, Nie Qianyu still couldn't make up her mind to see Zhang Xiaohua, whose lips were injured. Although she knew that it was better to see one more time, she couldn't summon the courage to face Zhang Xiaohua's ruthless indifference and her own feelings. After all, she was still in her first bloom of love. While thinking, Nie Qianyu's eyes suddenly lit up. She threw the comb far away and shouted, "Xiao Zhizi, Xiao Zhizi." When Xiao Zhizi hurriedly ran upstairs, Nie Qianyu continued to shout, "Go, go, get my needle and thread." Xiao Zhizi was puzzled. She didn't know why Miss suddenly wanted to do needlework. But when she saw Nie Qianyu's excited appearance, she prayed to Buddha in her heart, and hurriedly went to help find the necessary items. In the pill room, Zhang Xiaohua didn't see Nie Qianyu arrive. It was already late. At dusk, dark clouds covered the sky above Rejuvenation Valley. Before long, thunder rumbled and it started to rain. Sitting cross-legged in the pill room, Zhang Xiaohua listened to the familiar sound of thunder outside. She was eager to give it a try. She hadn't attracted thunder for a long time. But when she thought of Official Kong, who was nearby in the outer valley, Zhang Xiaohua immediately extinguished the idea. She would leave for the fragrant religion tomorrow. She couldn't give up on finding her second brother, just because she was greedy for a moment of cultivation. The loss outweighed the gain. Zhang Xiaohua continued to comprehend the incantation until midnight. Then she laid down a restriction and began to cultivate the Carefree Heart Sutra. In the rainy night, The raindrops silently moistened everything. But when they hit the windowsills, the roofs, and the trees, countless people in Rejuvenation Valley couldn't sleep. No matter if they were old or young, no matter how profound their skills were, as long as they had worries in their hearts, they were all like this. There were many things to talk about that night, but it was difficult to talk about them. The rain gradually stopped in the early morning, but it was still cloudy. No starlight or morning sun could be seen. Zhang Xiaohua woke up on time. When she opened her eyes, she didn't hear the sound of rain. She couldn't help but smile. The rain has stopped and the sky is clear. It's a good time to travel. It's a good omen. However, when he put away the restriction and walked out, he suddenly discovered that there were two girls standing at the entrance of his pill room. Their clothes were a little wet, and one of the girls was leading an animal that looked like a donkey, a horse, a deer, and a cow. If they weren't Nie Qianyu and Xiao Jizi, who else could it be? It was already July and August, and the weather was hot. However, Rejuvenation Valley's climate was different. It was like spring all year round. After a night of rain and gusts of cold wind, the morning after the rainy night was a little chilly. In addition, her clothes were a little wet. Nie Qianyu's lips were trembling slightly from the cold. Seeing this, Zhang Xiaohua felt a slight pain in his heart for no reason. He quickly walked forward and rebuked, "Little Yuer, why are you here so early? Your clothes are wet. Why didn't you call me?" Before Nie Qianyu could say anything, Xiao Jizi behind her said loudly, "Miss has been standing here for an hour. The rain didn't stop. It was inevitable that she would get wet on the way here. Moreover, you slept like a log. I shouted until my throat was broken, but you didn't respond at all. If I had known, I would have asked Miss to come later." At this time, Huan Huan, the deer in Xiao Jizi's hands, also cried out happily. It ran over and stuck out its tongue to lick Zhang Xiaohua's face intimately. Since Zhang Xiaohua came to Rejuvenation Valley, she had left Huan Huan to others to raise and didn't take care of it. Now that they hadn't seen each other for half a year, how could she not be happy? However, Zhang Xiaohua was not in the mood to pay attention to Huan Huan's situation. She gently patted its horn and said to Nie Qianyu, "Little fishy, let's go inside to warm up. Seeing you so cold." My heart. Zhang Xiaohua stopped at the right time. Nie Qianyu forced a smile and said, No need, brother Ren. It's already late. The caravan of the incense cult is usually prepared before dawn. When I came over just now, I saw the people in the valley helping to pack up. It should be ready soon. Brother Ren, you should go there early. Don't give people a bad impression." But Zhang Xiaohua looked at Nie Qianyu's face. "It's okay, brother Ren. Although it's cold now, it should be warm when we reach the outer valley. Don't delay your journey." "Okay." Zhang Xiaohua nodded and walked back to the pill room. She took out a small package that she had packed last night, and took out her great wisdom sword. She put these two things on Huan Huan's back and said, "Let's go." Thus Little Orange took Huan Huan's hand and left first. Zhang Xiaohua and Nie Qianyu slowly followed behind. When they left the inner valley, the east was already a little bright. In the distance, they could see that the caravan of the incense cult had already been packed up. There were only a few people walking around. Zhang Xiaohua did not dare to release her spiritual sense at first, for fear of being discovered by Master Kong. However, when she saw the caravan, she suddenly remembered that she had used her spiritual sense to observe the caravan the day before yesterday. And yesterday, when she directly used her spiritual sense to see through Master Kong's veil, she did not know. She must have seen that something was wrong with her. It was definitely not a problem with her spiritual sense. Immediately, Zhang Xiaohua released her spiritual sense. Sure enough, in the distant attic, Steward Yang and Valley Master Nie, as well as a few disciples of the incense cult, were waiting respectfully downstairs. Master Kong was still coming downstairs. Zhang Xiaohua was relieved. This time, she noticed that Nie Qianyu, who was beside her, was wearing a light yellow robe. She was dressed very beautifully. Even her face, which usually did not wear any makeup, was slightly dressed. It was the same appearance as when she returned to the Rejuvenation Valley that day. It was just that back then, she had braided her hair. Now her long hair was loose and she looked more mature. However, there seemed to be something different. In a hurry, Zhang Xiaohua could not tell. The two of them walked very slowly. Nie Qinyu clutched the corner of her clothes and secretly bit her lips. Zhang Xiaohua also lowered her head and walked quietly. The two of them did not speak. When the figures of Master Kong, Steward Yang and Valley Master Nie appeared in the distance, the two of them had only walked a short distance. When she saw the figures, Nie Qinyu knew that it was time to say goodbye. Her eyes immediately turned red and she said, "Big brother Run, you're leaving soon." I don't know if you've thought about everything about the incense cult. Zhang Xiaohua said softly. It's just a matter of finding out. I just have to be careful. If I can learn something, I'm willing to do so. Little Yuer, don't worry. That's good. Big brother Ren, you still have to be careful. Don't. As she spoke, Nie Qinyu did not know what to say. As they spoke, Peacock and the others had already walked half the distance, but Zhang Xiaohua and Nie Qinyu had not even walked half the distance. Nie Qinyu looked over anxiously and took out 2 jade bottles and handed them to Zhang Xiaohua. She said, "Big brother Ren, these 2 jade bottles were given to me by father yesterday. One is the Crimson Flame pill, and the other is the Yuhuandan pill. I know you have some with you, but these are hard to come by. It's better to keep as many as you can. Take them, I have no use for them anyway." Ah! Zhang Xiaohua was surprised. These things had been tossed around. Why did it return to her? Zhang Xiaohua quickly declined. "1 Crimson Flame pill is enough. It's useless to have more. I still have a lot of Yuhuandan pill with me. You can keep them for yourself." Nie Qinyu refused. "The Crimson Flame pill is the most important thing for you to improve your skills. It's also useful for you to spread the incense cult. The Yuhuandan pill is even more important. It's extremely effective in treating internal injuries. It's inevitable that you'll encounter danger in the martial arts world. If you can have 1 more Yuhuandan pill, you'll have 1 more layer of protection." Zhang Xiaohua waved her hand. "Let's not talk about the Yuhuandan pill first. I still have the Crimson Flame pill. Only the first one is effective. The rest are redundant. I have no use for them. You can take them." Seeing Zhang Xiaohua decline, Nie Qinyu's tears almost fell. 1 more pill is always useful. She stubbornly placed her outstretched hand in front of Zhang Xiaohua's eyes and refused to withdraw it. Zhang Xiaohua was extremely touched. She looked at the 2 sacred pills that everyone in the martial arts world coveted. Nie Qinyu gave them to her without hesitation, just to give her an additional layer of protection. Zhang Xiaohua rubbed her slightly sour nose, looked into the distance, and whispered into Nie Qinyu's ear, "Little Yuer, keep it well. I also have a lot of Crimson Flame pills. I'll only tell you one. Don't tell anyone else." Bah! Nie Qinyu couldn't help but spit. Zhang Xiaohua looked at the other jade bottle and said, "This is the Yuhuandan pill. That Lord Kong gave me 6 pills. I've been using them. Don't underestimate your big brother Ren. When have I ever suffered internal injuries? And this Yuhuandan pill, to be honest, I really have no use for it. Although it has a great reputation, it can't treat my internal injuries." "What?" Nie Qinyu asked curiously. "The Yuhuandan pill is a sacred pill for healing injuries. How can it not treat your internal injuries? Big brother Ren, don't lie to me." Zhang Xiaohua acted mysterious. "Little Yuer, I'll only tell you. The internal energy I practice is very strange. Ordinary pills are useless for me. You must remember to keep it a secret. Don't tell anyone else." These 2 sentences of "don't tell anyone else" made Nie Qinyu feel sweet in her heart. She was skeptical. Zhang Xiaohua's lips curled up. "When did your big brother Ren lie to you? Quickly keep it. Don't let the people from the cult of fragrance see it. Otherwise, your father won't be able to take it." Nie Qinyu hesitated. Zhang Xiaohua said again, "If you don't keep it, I'll be angry." This sentence was half true and half false. Nie Qinyu treated it as an imperial edict and immediately kept it in her arms. She was afraid to make him unhappy. Seeing this, Zhang Xiaohua smiled. "That's a good little Yuer." At this moment, Peacock had already boarded the carriage. She looked up and frowned. Valley Head Nie saw this and quickly said, "Lord Kong, please don't blame me. I'll hurry them up." Peacock snorted and waved her hand, indicating that there was no need. Manager Yang smiled at the side. It's been many years since they left. I don't know when they'll meet again. Let's talk a little more. Nie Qianyu saw that Lord Kong had already boarded the carriage, and did not dare to keep Zhang Xiaohua any longer. She hurriedly said, "Big brother, run, quickly go. I'll send you here." She could not finish the word you. Her eyes were red and she was choking with sobs. Please give me a monthly vote, a recommendation vote. Chapter 509. Zhang Xiaohua looked at Nie Qianyu's small face, nodded, and then turned around. Little Orange was holding Huan's hand, and was not far away. Zhang Xiaohua walked in front of Little Orange, and saw that Little Orange was also shedding tears of farewell. She sighed and floated up. Turning back to look at Nie Qianyu, she patted Huan's bald horn, and Huan quickly ran towards the carriages. Peacock looked at Zhang Xiaohua's David's deer and said in a low voice, "This David's deer is Ren Xiaoyao's mount?" Valleyhead Nie smiled apologetically. "Yes, this David's deer is very human-like and is called Huan. Peacock did not comment and waved her hand. "Let's go." Manager Yang shouted loudly, "Official Kong's orders, let's go." Immediately, everyone and the carriages started moving, and the carriages were about to set off. Manager Yang turned around and cupped his fists towards Valleyhead Nie. "Old brother Nie, this brother will be leaving now. If there is a chance in the future, we will meet again." At this time, Manager Yang did not bother to call him Valleyhead Nie. Valleyhead Nie looked at the old man he had known for decades and also cupped his fists. "All right, brother. Have a safe journey. If there is a chance in the future, come to Rejuvenation Valley. This old brother will be waiting for you at any time." Ah! The two smiled and parted with tears in their eyes. But at this time a shout came from afar. Big Brother Ren, Official Kong, who was about to enter the carriage, immediately stopped and raised his head to look into the distance. He saw that Nie Qianyu seemed to have thought of something and took out something from her bosom, shouting, "Big brother, run!" Wait! She chased after him on the muddy grass. Zhang Xiaohua also stopped when she heard the shout. Seeing Nie Qianyu chase after her and Official Kong's carriage, she patted Huan and turned around to hurry over. Perhaps the grass was slippery, or perhaps she tripped in the mud. But in any case, our cute and easily injured Nie Qianyu slipped again and fell straight into the mud. At this time, Zhang Xiaohua was still far away and could not help her up even if she wanted to. Under everyone's gaze, Nie Qianyu fell to the ground, but her hands were still raised high. Then she carefully got up, afraid of dirtying the thing in her hands, and continued to run forward. Zhang Xiaohua quickly dismounted. Nie Qianyu rushed in front of her and handed the thing in her hands in front of Zhang Xiaohua. Panting, "Brother Ren, I have nothing else to give you. This is a silk bag that I personally made yesterday. Take it as a souvenir, Take it as a memento, take it as a souvenir." Zhang Xiaohua and as she got, Nie rushed in front of her. Nie Qianyu rushed in front and she and Qianyu at her as she ants holding the thing in her hand in S. Looking at Nie Qianyu's muddy body and face, as well as the green silk pouch in her hand, Zhang Xiaohua was once again moved. He carefully took the pouch, but he heard Nie Qianyu's face turn red as if blood was about to drip out. She whispered, "Big brother Ren, please keep the things inside. You can look at them later." Zhang Xiaohua rubbed her fingers slightly, and a gap appeared in the silk bag. She did not need to look at it with her eyes, but with her divine sense, she could see that it was actually a bundle of black hair. Zhang Xiaohua suddenly understood why she did not like Nie Qianyu just now. It was because of her hair. Zhang Xiaohua could not hold it in any longer. Her eyes were red and she said softly, "Little you," Nie Qianyu finally burst into tears. She rushed over and fell into Zhang Xiaohua's arms. Brother Ren. Zhang Xiaohua raised her hands, and did not know if she should put them down. Nie Qianyu hugged Zhang Xiaohua's waist with both hands, tears gushing out of her eyes like water. At this moment Peacock, who was in the distance, frowned slightly and shouted in a low voice, "Caravan, set off." She actually used her internal energy, and the whole Rejuvenation Valley heard it clearly. Everyone who saw Zhang Xiaohua and Nie Qianyu did not dare to delay. They immediately came to their senses and set off. Zhang Xiaohua's heart tightened, but she did not know if she should push Nie Qianyu away. Alas, the cicadas in winter are mournful. Facing the pavilion in the evening, the sudden rain has just stopped. Drinking in the tent at the capital gate is not in the mood. Reluctant to leave, the boat starts. Holding hands and looking at each other with teary eyes, she was speechless. While Zhang Xiaohua was hesitating, she heard official Kong say in a low voice, "Ren Xiaoyao, catch up quickly in a moment. Do not delay the journey." After saying this, Peacock went straight into the carriage and did not say anything else. Everyone was astonished. Only Valley Head Nia looked happy. Looking at the two people in the mud from afar, he led the Rejuvenation Valley people to follow the incense cult's caravan, and slowly sent them off. Nie Qianyu, who buried her head in Zhang Xiaohua's arms, did not hear Peacock's first sentence clearly. However, she heard the second sentence very clearly. She could not help blushing, and was about to raise her head. At this moment, Zhang Xiaohua's heart skipped a beat. She finally put her hand down and stroked Nie Qianyu's black hair. Then, she put her mouth next to Nie Qianyu's ear. Nie Qianyu's body felt hot and dry. She was surprised and happy. This was in front of everyone. How could brother run? However, she heard Zhang Xiaohua's voice next to her ear. Nie Qianyu was stunned at first, then surprised, then confused, and finally grateful. After nearly half an incense stick of time, Zhang Xiaohua raised his head and smiled. "Little you, do you remember clearly?" Nie Qianyu's face was red, but she did not let go of her hand. She said, "I remember it clearly, Brother Ren. Is this really the Beidou School's internal strength secret manual? I can cultivate it?" Zhang Xiaohua nodded. "Yes, but you have to swear that you will not tell anyone about this cultivation method, not even your father." Nie Qianyu nodded resolutely. "Okay, little fishy, you can." Zhang Xiaohua was too embarrassed to say it clearly. Nie Qianyu understood tacitly and quickly let go of her hand. She said shyly, "Brother Ren, please don't blame me. I was a little rude." Looking at Nie Qianyu's shy expression, Zhang Xiaohua could not help but reach out and pinch her nose. She said, "Don't blame me. How can I blame you?" Nie Qianyu revealed a happy smile. She bit the corner of her mouth and did not speak. The two of them were silent for a moment. Nie Qianyu whispered, "Brother Ren, let's go. If we don't leave now, we will delay the journey. If Master Kong blames us, all our previous efforts will be in vain." Zhang Xiaohua nodded and smiled. She pinched her nose again. "I have to go. Don't cry anymore. There will be a chance to meet again." Nie Qianyu nodded, but her tears flowed out again. Zhang Xiaohua sighed. She gritted her teeth and turned to leave. She heard Nie Qianyu call out again. Brother Ren. Zhang Xiaohua's heart skipped a beat. He turned around again, looked at Little Orange who was waiting in the distance, and said in a low voice, "Little fish Nie, there's something I need to tell you, but don't blame me and don't tell anyone else." Nie Qianyu nodded desperately. Zhang Xiaohua whispered, "Actually, my name is not Ren Xiaorao. My real name is Zhang Xiaohua." Zhang Xiaohua. Nie Qianyu opened her mouth in surprise. There were tears in her eyes, but she wanted to laugh out loud. She never expected that the brother Ren, who was excellent in martial arts and merciless in killing people, would have such a cute name. Seeing Nie Qianyu's surprise, Zhang Xiaohua hurriedly explained, "Little fishy, don't blame me. It's not that I don't want to explain, but I don't have a chance. Oh, don't forget, you lied to me about your age. If it wasn't for the martial arts competition, you wouldn't." Seeing Zhang Xiaohua so anxious, Nie Qianyu could not help but laugh out loud. "It's not your fault, Brother Ren. You still call me Brother Ren?" Nie Qianyu glared at Zhang Xiaohua. "Didn't you want to hide it from others? If I don't call you Brother Ren, what should I call you?" Zhang Xiaohua scratched his head. Alas, he was coaxed by this girl and revealed all his secrets. In his mind, although the carriage of the fragrance cult was moving slowly, it was already far away. Zhang Xiaohua did not dare to delay and said, "Little fishy, I have to go. You have to take care of yourself. Don't be anxious to improve your internal strength." "Okay, I really have to go." Zhang Xiaohua finally reached out his hand and stroked Nie Qianyu's hair. He turned around and floated onto the David's deer. He patted Huan Huan's bald horn. The David's deer screamed and ran after Nie Qianyu. Zhang Xiaohua sat cross-legged and stared at Nie Qinyu. His heart was filled with mixed feelings. Don't cry, don't cry. Brother Ren told me not to cry. Nie Qinyu murmured in her heart and in a low voice. However, looking at Zhang Xiaohua's figure that was getting smaller and smaller, tears still came out of her eyes. Alas, since ancient times, sentimental feelings have hurt parting. How can I neglect the autumn festival? Tonight, when I wake up from my drunken stupor, the wind blows and the waning moon on the bank of willow trees. This year's departure should be a good time in name only. Even if there were thousands of amorous feelings, who would he tell? The David's deer went on the path out of the valley. Zhang Xiaohua stretched out his hand and waved goodbye. Nie Qinyu saw this and quickly waved back. However, in less than a moment, Zhang Xiaohua's figure had disappeared. After a while, the tactful little orange walked forward and said, Miss, Brother Ren has gone far. You should go back and change your clothes. Otherwise you will get sick. Brother Ren. Hearing this, Nie Qinyu felt warm and happy in her heart. This guy never wants to suffer any loss. I just told him my age, but he remembered it. That's my real name. He didn't tell me until the last moment. Alas, Nie Qinyu and Zhang Xiaohua. Aren't they a perfect match? Could it be that he? In an instant, Nie Qinyu was stunned. She couldn't even hear Little Orange calling her from the side. Zhang Xiaohua sat cross-legged on Huanhuan's back and waited until Nie Qinyu was out of sight before turning around. If he used his divine sense, he could still see Nie Qinyu. However, he didn't do so. Parting was always cruel. Wouldn't he torture himself many times? Looking at the dark green silk pouch in his hand, Zhang Xiaohua sighed in his heart and carefully put it into his money pouch. In addition to the Prajna heavy sword and his own small bag, there was also a huge bag on Huanhuan's back. Needless to say, Nie Qinyu had prepared it for him. Zhang Xiaohua touched it with his hand and knew that there were many things inside. He sighed again and looked forward. As far as his eyes could see, there was no sign of the carriages. However, there were Rejuvenation Valley disciples waiting not far away. They must have been instructed by Valley Master Nie to wait for Zhang Xiaohua to come closer, and quickly bow to him, and point him in the direction of the carriages. Zhang Xiaohua nodded with a smile and urged the David's deer to follow closely. After chasing for a while, he finally saw a group of people in the distance. It was Valley Master Nie who led the Rejuvenation Valley disciples to bid farewell to Manager Yang and the other fragrance cult disciples. Seeing Zhang Xiaohua coming, Manager Yang laughed loudly. Our infatuated lover is finally here. Old brother Nie, you don't have to send him off. You've been here for so long. Aren't you waiting for him? Valley Master Nie smiled. Yes, yes. Little brother Yang is worthy of me sending him off so far. Forget it. I've never sent him off so far before. Valley Master Nie laughed loudly. Zhang Xiaohua came forward and also dismounted. He bid farewell to Nie Qianrong and Yu Zhonglin, Nie Qianxiu and Changsheng, Mu Qingxian and Fei He and the others. Finally, he walked in front of Valley Master Nie and bowed deeply. Uncle Nie, I won't say any superfluous words of thanks. I will remember your words in my heart, and will not let you down. Please rest assured. Valley Master Nie nodded, and smiled with relief. Zhang Xiaohua looked at the happy departing crowd and said, In the future, if Rejuvenation Valley needs anything from me, please tell me. I will not hesitate to go through water and tread on fire. Chapter 510. Zhang Xiaohua spoke very softly and Valley Master Nie nodded slightly. He reached out and patted him on the shoulder, indicating that he understood. Manager Yang, who was waiting not far away, looked at them with a sense of farewell. Then, Zhang Xiaohua patted Huanhuan and followed Manager Yang. He turned back and cupped his hands at the people of Rejuvenation Valley who were standing still. Then, he turned back and followed the carriages of the incense cult. They went further and further away and gradually disappeared. Looking at Zhang Xiaohua who had become a black dot, Nie Qianrong rode to Valley Master Nie's side and said, Father, I always wanted to remind you, but I married early and didn't dare to talk about the affairs of the valley. Now that the emissary of the incense cult has left, I can't hold it in anymore and want to. Valley Master Nie smiled and said, Are you still worried that Ren Xiaoxia will bring trouble to Rejuvenation Valley? Nie Qianrong's face was burning and she murmured. Although Ren Xiaoxia has helped Rejuvenation Valley. After all, Valley Master Nie waved his hand and said, Qianrong, remember, Ren Xiaoxia's help to Rejuvenation Valley is as heavy as a mountain. You don't need to know the details. We have to pay the price for what we did. Besides, it's already like this. Even if there is a mistake, it's useless to talk about it. Why think about it? Nie Qianrong nodded. But little Yu at this time. Yu Zhonglin also stepped forward and said, Father-in-law, this Ren Xiaoxia is a rare person in Jianghu. If we let him go like this, little Yu will be lovesick. Nie Qianrong spat. How can you talk about your sister-in-law like this? Valley Master Nie stroked his beard and said in disappointment, Ren Xiaoxia is not a fish in a pond. He just hasn't had the opportunity yet. Sooner or later, he will soar to the 9th heaven. But our Rejuvenation Valley. Sigh, it depends on whether our little Yu has such charm. While they were talking, Nie Qianxiu and Chang Sheng also stepped forward. The three of them looked at each other and shut their mouths. Nie Qianxiu looked curiously at the three of them who kept their mouths shut. She smiled and said, Father and big sister are also talking about this Ren Xiaoyao, right? This brat is really smart. He managed to coax father into agreeing to let him spread the incense cult. Sigh, father, it's not that I want to nag at you, but even if he escorted Xiaoyu back, he was just driving a carriage and sending a person back. Who knows if he has any other motives? My Rejuvenation Valley has such a huge foundation. How could he not know the benefits of a live-in son-in-law? That day he had pretended to refuse, but why didn't he take the initiative to leave? In my opinion, he must have investigated clearly and used our Rejuvenation Valley as a springboard to spread the incense cult. Moreover, he also played with little Yu's feelings and took our Rejuvenation Valley into his hands. Changxing didn't say it directly. He only said, Father-in-law, this matter is somewhat inappropriate. Ren Xiaoyao is just an outsider. Even if his background is clean, it's best not to seeing Valley Master Nie's unfriendly expression. Changxing didn't dare finish his sentence. He only said, in any case, father-in-law should be more careful in the future. When Nie Qianxiu saw this, she smiled coldly and said, since ancient times, honest advice has always been unpleasant to the ear. Father, I'm only thinking for our Rejuvenation Valley. If you don't appreciate my kindness, we, the younger generation, can't complain. However, I still have to thank father for his forceful actions. Now that the incense cult's emissary has left, we've already instructed our family to prepare a carriage. I'll return to the whale gang and tell father-in-law about this matter. I'm sure father-in-law will come to express his gratitude. I'll return then. When he heard this, Valley Master Nie waved his hand. No need. Changsheng, go back and tell your father not to mention this matter again in the future. Just pretend it never happened. It won't be good if word gets out. Changxing nodded. Afterwards, the husband and wife left on their horses. Valley Master Nie looked at everyone, and also waved his hand. Let's go back to the valley. Then, he looked in the direction that the incense cult had gone. They had long since disappeared. He turned his horse around and headed straight back to Rejuvenation Valley. Those who needed to be sent off had already been sent off, and those who needed to leave had already left. Several months had passed like yesterday. Rejuvenation Valley's days would continue as usual. However, with the Crimson Flame pill and a new method of refining pills, could Rejuvenation Valley still be the Rejuvenation Valley of the past? A ray of hope rose in Valley Master Nie's heart. Back to Zhang Xiaohua. She rode her odd beast and caught up to Manager Yang in front of them. Manager Yang was quite a distance away from the carriages. He was slowly moving forward. It was obvious that he was waiting for Zhang Xiaohua. Zhang Xiaohua approached and cupped her hands. Manager Yang, this little one thanks you for your help. Manager Yang looked at Zhang Xiaohua and smiled. Virtuous nephew Ren, your odd beast is quite good. Rejuvenation Valley must have given it to you as a gift, right? Zhang Xiaohua was startled and didn't explain. She smiled and said, it was Uncle Nie's good intentions. Manager Yang nodded. Old brother Nie and little you are really good to you. They even gave you the valley's rare David's deer as your mount. I'm really envious. However, this is a small matter. For you, they didn't even care about the rules of recommending medicine apprentices, and came to me through the back door. Zhang Xiaohua said respectfully. Yes, I will never forget Valley Master Nie and Little Yu's great kindness. Manager Yang sneered. What's the use of not forgetting it? In the future, the right way is to know how to repay kindness. Zhang Xiaohua was even more startled. She cupped her hands and said, Rest assured, Manager Yang. How could this little one not know? When I leave the incense cult in the future, I will definitely repay Rejuvenation Valley. Manager Yang shook his head and sneered. Ren Xiaoyao, you and Commander Nie both look down on my incense cult. Return to the Jianghu? Easier said than done. Who knows how many medicine apprentices from Rejuvenation Valley have entered the incense cult, and how many have returned? Don't think too far ahead. Zhang Xiaohua cursed inwardly. What does Manager Yang mean? I will never forget it. You said no, so I will repay the kindness. You still won't. What do you want me to do? Zhang Xiaohua was still as respectful as ever. Then please instruct me, Steward Yang. No matter what my identity was yesterday, from now on, I am the Aroma Cult's medicine boy. If there is anything I need, please instruct me. Seeing Zhang Xiaohua's humble attitude, Manager Yang nodded in his heart. Yes, since you know your identity, then it will be easy to handle. Let's talk about your previous identity. You are the son-in-law of Rejuvenation Valley. Remember, you are Little Yu's future husband. Zhang Xiaohua was greatly embarrassed and thought, this huge hat sounds nice on my head. I didn't even touch it, but it was branded. If Little Fishy heard this, she might be overjoyed. He couldn't refute and smiled awkwardly. I know. It's just that no buts. Manager Yang waved his hand. He said, I have watched Little Yu grow up. Since Marshal Nie has handed his son-in-law to me, I will definitely watch over him well. Also, you must remember that your future wife is waiting for you in Rejuvenation Valley. I'm going to faint. Zhang Xiaohua complained. What does this have to do with anything? Valley Head Nie doesn't even put on the airs of a father-in-law. This unrelated person is AI, he has good intentions. At least Valley Head Nie didn't hand over the wrong person. But Zhang Xiaohua cried out in his heart. You've given me a warning, but little fish Nie isn't just waiting around. Maybe she'll meet a handsome husband tomorrow and marry him. I'm the only one who's being watched by you. Manager Yang saw that Zhang Xiaohua didn't speak and said, Also, your current identity is only a medicine boy in my pill expansion hall. This identity is different from your previous one. To be clear, it is the same as the medicine boy in Rejuvenation Valley. It is even more lowly. You should be mentally prepared. Don't feel uncomfortable. Zhang Xiaohua nodded. Manager Yang, please don't worry. I know. Uncle Nie has also warned me. Manager Yang also nodded and changed the topic. Since you know your current identity, I have to tell you that from top to bottom in the fragrance cult, female disciples are respected. Whenever you meet a female disciple, you must be careful. You must straighten your posture and attitude. Be a good medicine boy with a clear heart and a clear mind. Zhang Xiaohua almost fell from the David's deer. Is there a need to go so far? After talking for so long, you are just warning me not to be a womanizer and let little fishy Nie down? Sure enough, Manager Yang continued, whether it's your previous identity or your current identity, it's not good to provoke the female disciples of the fragrance cult. Not to mention that you've let down Marshal Nie and Little Yu. Even the rules of my pill repository hall won't forgive you. Zhang Xiaohua smiled bitterly. Manager Yang, look at me. Do I look like someone who would provoke a female disciple? Manager Yang looked up and down and shook his head slightly. However, he looked at the carriages in front and whispered, Ren Xiaoyao, tell me. And don't worry, I will not tell anyone. Do you know our Master Kong? When did you meet her? Manager Yang's gossipy look surprised Zhang Xiaohua. He quickly waved his hand. Master Kong? Don't talk nonsense. I met Master Kong for the first time at Elder Zhang's place. Moreover, she was wearing a veil. I didn't even see her face. I don't even know what she looks like. How could I know her? Not to mention meeting her. You really don't know her? Manager Yang still didn't believe him. But why was she so abnormal when she saw you? Moreover, she treated you so well just now. She didn't even blame you for not setting off on time. Do you think I am a fool? Zhang Xiaohua was puzzled. Isn't it just a little late? Is it that serious? He still shook his head. Think about it. If I knew Master Kong, why would I ask Uncle Nye to find you? Wouldn't it be better to find Master Kong directly? And that's true. Manager Yang frowned and continued. However, even if Lord Kong has taken a fancy to you, you must remember not to have any thoughts of climbing up the social ladder. If that's the case, even if I have to sacrifice this old life of mine, I will drag you down from your high horse. Hee, don't think that you can be complacent just because you're the champion of the martial arts competition. My fragrant sect is full of experts and any one of my disciples can crush you to death with just a little finger. If you don't listen to me and want to let little you down, this old man can find someone to castrate you so that you can only look but not eat. Looking at Manager Yang's complacent look, Zhang Xiaohua almost fell. This was the first ideological education class of the fragrant cult, and the consequences were so serious. Recommend me. Chapter 511. Seeing Zhang Xiaohua's ashen face, Manager Yang was immensely pleased with himself and laughed. Nephew Run, don't be afraid. As your uncle, I'm just saying. As long as you follow the rules in the cult of incense and do your part, your future father-in-law and I have already figured out your future path. You just have to follow along. The bright path is right in front of you. In the future, everything in the cult will be taken care of by me as your uncle. Isn't that 100 times better than others who have no backing? All right. Looking at Manager Yang's see if you're being reasonable or not expression, Zhang Xiaohua silently cursed. She had just raised a big stick to warn him, and now he wanted to give her a carrot. Do you really think I'm a 15-year-old child? But he was still respectful and only had 2 ears. Seeing Zhang Xiaohua's respect, Manager Yang was even happier and patted his chest. Although there are very few medicine apprentices who can make a name for themselves, isn't there still your Uncle Yang? I will definitely put in a good word for you in front of the hall master, and create the best conditions for you, so that you can reach the threshold of an outer disciple as soon as possible. Then I will find a familiar disciple to teach you properly, so that you can pass the test earlier. When Zhang Xiaohua heard this, she was about to ask about the meaning of passing the test when Manager Yang changed the topic. But this is under the care of the Pill Repository Hall. Even if you're an inner disciple, if she has any matters to discuss with you, you must ignore her or find a reason to reject her. But you look like a 20-year-old person, but you're still only 15 years old. You're just a medicine apprentice. This Kong, why would he fancy you? I hope I'm just worrying for nothing. The more he spoke, the weaker his tone became, as if there was no better reason. Zhang Xiaohua had long been laughing in her heart. Looking at Manager Yang's respect for Lord Kong, it was needless to say that the difference between their positions in the cult of fragrance was too great. Yet, Manager Yang had forcefully used the Pill Repository Hall as a shield to persuade and educate her, fearing that she would have an affair. In fact, if she really had the intention of climbing up the social ladder, looking at Manager Yang's taboo towards Lord Kong, as long as she could rely on Lord Kong, even if Manager Yang pulled the Pill Repository Hall's purple ginseng elder, he probably wouldn't touch a single strand of her hair. However, was it necessary for Zhang Xiaohua to do this? He probably didn't even have the slightest bit of such thoughts. Zhang Xiaohua was both angry and amused. She cupped her hands and said, Uncle Yang, don't worry. I'll remember your words clearly. I won't let you worry. It's easy to say this promise, but no matter what I say now, Uncle Yang may not fully believe it. Why don't you wait and see what I do in the future? Manager Yang nodded with gratification and thought to himself, it's really like this. Even if you say it well now, what can I say when you turn around and look at Lord Kong's embrace? You're not perfunctory. You're a little interesting. You're worthy of little Yu's regard. Manager Yang's face was stiff. Then I'll see what you do in the future. I'll put you in front of me and watch over you carefully. Damn. Zhang Xiaohua was shocked. she thought. If you keep watching me like this, how am I going to find second brother? However, she still smiled and said, that's the best. If I can follow Uncle Yang, won't it save me a lot of trouble? Manager Yang nodded happily. Just as he was about to urge his horse to move, he reminded her, oh right, you can call me uncle and nephew in private. You must not let others see our friendship. Otherwise, even if you want to make things convenient in the future, others will see through it. I'm dizzy again. Zhang Xiaohua was helpless. I still want to rely on you. No matter what, I feel like I'm living off a woman. She could only smile and say, I know this. Manager Yang, please don't worry. All right, let's go. Ren Xiaorao, your Rejuvenation Valley's carriage is now at the back of the convoy. There are a total of 6 carriages. 3 of them are items sent to the Fragrant Religion. They have already been merged into the front and handed over to the sect's disciples to watch over. The carriages that the 10 of you are in are at the back. Valley Master Nia took care of you and let you share a carriage with Chang Chang. The other 8 people will squeeze into 2 carriages. Zhang Xiaohua smiled and said, isn't this all because of Manager Yang's concern? Manager Yang laughed and said, no wonder little Yu has taken a fancy to you. Your mouth is also very sweet. After he finished speaking, he spurred his horse forward. He felt very refreshed in his heart. Damn it, the feeling of scolding people is so good. No wonder old man Gu would scold me whenever he's unhappy. Seeing Ren Xiaorao being stunned by my scolding really makes me feel very good. How could Zhang Xiaohua know what he was thinking? She only shook her head from behind, patted Huan Huan's bald horn, and directly chased after them. Previously, the Fragrant Religion's convoy had more than 10 carriages. In addition to the Rejuvenation Valley's carriages, there were already more than 20 carriages. From the front to the back, the winding path was not short. The Fragrant Religion's previous guard disciples were slightly insufficient. When a disciple walking at the back saw Manager Yang and Zhang Xiaohua chasing after them, he loudly said, Manager Yang, I heard that this brat has some skills? Manager Yang smiled and said, Ren Xiaoyao was able to knock that Longting Villa's sword young master out of the arena. Naturally, he has some skill. Brat, you also know this news, don't you? I heard that he was beaten by Master Kong until he vomited blood yesterday. That disciple was somewhat gloating. What level is Master Kong at? No matter how powerful this brat is, he can't be compared to her. Even you, aren't you also several times more powerful than him? That disciple was very pleased and said with a smile, I wonder how your injuries are. Zhang Xiaohua was somewhat baffled. She cupped her hands and said, I took some medicine and am still in the process of recovery. However, there are no major problems. That's good. However, that Yuhuandan pill is a good thing. That disciple did not finish speaking. Zhang Xiaohua immediately understood. She inwardly curled her lips and said with a frown, Is that so? So it's like this. Unfortunately, I only took one yesterday, and the rest were taken away by Valley Master Nia. If I had known that it was so precious. That disciple sneered. If you had known that it was so precious, you wouldn't have given it to me? Zhang Xiaohua sighed and did not speak. She then looked as if she had suddenly realized something and raised her hand to take it, saying, I forgot that Valley Master Nia gave me some Rejuvenation Valley's self-made blood replenishing pills before he left. If Senior Marshal Brother is also injured, this little one is willing to give some to you. Don't. That disciple arrogantly waved his hand. Don't call me Senior Marshal Brother like this. It makes it seem like I am very familiar with you. I only asked you this because there aren't enough disciples guarding the carriages. I know that you know a bit of martial arts and wanted you to take care of the rear. You saying this makes it seem like I am coveting something from you. Although your Rejuvenation Valley's blood replenishing pill is famous in the Jianghu, it is only an extremely common pill in my eyes. Don't think that you can rely on it to make connections. And don't curse me to be injured for no reason like you. Zhang Xiaohua looked as if she had been lectured and repeatedly said that she did not dare. That disciple then said, Since your injuries are no longer a problem, I will leave the rear of the carriage to you. However, you don't have to be afraid. I will wait at the front to help you clear the way. You will only be a decoration. If there is anything, Just call and we will immediately rush over. Zhang Xiaohua smiled and said, That would be best, master. But please don't worry, this little one will be strictly on guard. If there is any trouble, I will immediately warn you. That disciple saw that Zhang Xiaohua was expressing her loyalty, and was even pretending to be serious. He secretly laughed in his heart. This scoundrel actually thinks of herself as someone important. She doesn't even think of her own identity. She is only a medicine boy. Then he waved his hand, held his head high, and urged the horse forward. Seeing that disciple walk far away, Manager Yang smiled and said, Run. Xiaoyao, don't take it to heart. The people of my sect all have their eyes on the top of their heads, and cannot tolerate outsiders. Although this disciple is an outer disciple, he is also like this. Zhang Xiaohua smiled. How could he take this kind of contempt to heart? Soon after, Manager Yang also quietly came up and whispered, That nephew run, the Yuhuandan pill? Zhang Xiaohua nodded. Indeed, I also didn't know that the Yuhuandan pill was so precious. I thought it was only a healing pill. When Uncle Nia asked, I gave it all to him. My injuries were only healed by the blood-replenishing pill. Manager Yang's face was full of disappointment. No wonder your injuries are not completely healed. Just now I was wondering why you were not fully healed, even after eating the Yuhuandan pill. So it was because you ate the blood-replenishing pill. Marshal Nia, that old bastard, still has this kind of skill. If I had known earlier, I would have asked him for it yesterday. Manager Yang inadvertently revealed a hint. He looked at Zhang Xiaohua and smiled. Don't look at me like that. You will naturally know the preciousness of the Yuhuandan pill when you arrive at the School of Fragrance. At that time, you will regret giving it all to your future father-in-law. The more Manager Yang said this, the more Zhang Xiaohua felt that she had made the right choice. If he had flattered the two of them and gave it to them, perhaps all the outer disciples would come over and ask for it. The Yuhuandan pill was not much to begin with, so who was suitable to give it to and who was not? She had not even entered the School of Fragrance and had already offended so many people. Cough cough, it was better for her to keep it. Even if she gave it to her second brother, or the people from the Misty School in the future, it would still be better than offending others. After educating Zhang Xiaohua and not getting any benefits, Manager Yang said, Ren Xiaoyao, you stay behind and guard. If you are tired, you can rest in the carriage. I will go to the front to serve Master Kong. If you need anything, you can come and find me. Zhang Xiaohua cupped his hands in thanks. Manager Yang did not stop, and went straight to the middle of the carriages. Zhang Xiaohua released her divine sense and looked forward. In the middle of the carriages, Master Kong was sitting cross-legged in the carriage. She did not know if he was cultivating or meditating. Zhang Xiaohua thought for a moment, then rode the David's deer to catch up with the carriages. She did not dare to waste any time. She had not completely understood the incantation of God's guidance. She might be able to hide it from Master Kong for a while, but once she arrived at the School of Fragrance, it would be unknown. If the School of Fragrance's elders or the head of the School of Fragrance noticed a clue, she would be like a lamb sent to the tiger's mouth. She would not be able to find any information about her second brother, and even her own freedom would be in danger. When Zhang Xiaohua reached the back of the carriages, she casually looked at the carriages behind her. Just as she was thinking about which carriage had a powerful person sitting in it, she saw the curtain of the last carriage open. A young man with rosy lips and white teeth stuck his head out and respectfully shouted, "Uncle." Chapter 512. Zhang Xiaohua almost fell off the David's deer's back when she heard the young man call her little uncle. What kind of relatives are you? Valley Head Nya even told me to keep an eye on you. If you're not careful, I'll take your life. Who has the patience to claim kinship with you now? Zhang Xiaohua pretended to be puzzled. Are you so domineering? How did you get such a domineering name? Why did you call me little uncle? That domineering smiled. Little uncle is confused. I call Valley Head Nya's second daughter, Nya Qinxiu, auntie. Naturally, I'll call Nya Qin you little aunt. You and little aunt are a match made in heaven. If I don't call you little uncle, what else can I call you? As for the name, it's just a title. Once we reach Chuanxiang cult, we may have to change it to something else. It doesn't matter, right, little uncle? Zhang Xiaohua sighed inwardly when he saw the shrewdness and flattery on his face. You're right in the beginning. It's just that I haven't had any contact with your aunt until now. You shouldn't call me uncle or anything like that. Moreover, you're right. Once we reach Chuanxiang cult, we'll have to change our names. It's better if we don't have a relationship like this. Domineering said with a respectful face. Little uncle is right. Although your relationship with little aunt hasn't become a reality, sooner or later, the rice will be cooked. I'm just calling you little uncle too early. In fact, no matter how you change your name in Chuanxiang cult, won't you still be my little uncle? I'll always think so in my heart. Zhang Xiaohua was also helpless. This guy was too good at talking, and he was no match for him. He could only say, if the incense cult hears this name, it's inevitable that they will think of something. It's better to change it. Then how should I address you? Little uncle, please teach me. This. Zhang Xiaohua was also in a difficult position. Who knew how to address people in Chuanxiang cult? She casually said, if it doesn't work, just call me by my name. After all, I'll be a medicine boy in the future. With a strong smile he said, this medicine boy is not that medicine boy. I can't call my uncle's name directly. Let's just call him Young Master Ren. Zhang Xiaohua frowned. She thought for a moment and said, do as you wish. That's all we can do before we enter the fragrant religion. We'll talk about the future later. I will listen to young Master Ren's instructions. Then he looked at the David's deer that Zhang Xiaohua was riding and laughed. I have always admired the David's deer of Rejuvenation Valley. My aunt has never brought me to see it. I didn't expect young Master Ren to have such a reputation and actually ride this David's deer out. She then turned to look at the carriage and said softly, I heard from my aunt that when Chuanxiang cult recruits medicine boys from Rejuvenation Valley, they're not allowed to bring anything with them. They're only allowed to wear clothes. Since you're able to ride the odd beast here, you must be able to bring it into Chuanxiang cult. This treatment, TSK, is really Zhang Xiaohua was taken aback. He didn't think too much about it. He just thought that riding a mount was nothing more than that. He didn't think that there would be such preferential treatment. Then he naturally linked it to yesterday's meeting with the Fragrant Religion's emissary, Lord Kong. He was able to ride the odd beast to the Fragrant Religion, so it must have been Lord Kong's tacit approval. Others may not have seen Lord Kong's true appearance, so they thought that he and Lord Kong were old acquaintances, or at least had some connection. But Lord Kong under the veil, Zhang Xiaohua could clearly see that although she was beautiful, she had no significant relationship with him. Why would she treat him differently? This was rather strange. However, Zhang Xiaohua only waved his hand and said, isn't this all because of Steward Yang's good intentions? It's just that I'm causing trouble for him. If I had known earlier, I wouldn't have ridden it. She smiled again and said, since you've ridden it, you've ridden it. It's also to show off young uncle's extraordinariness. By the way, young uncle, I vaguely heard the disciples of Chuanxiang cult asking you to guard the carriage? And what's there to ask? It's just a decoration. Io, why are you calling me young uncle again? Only then did Zhang Xiaohua come to a realization. Young uncle, I'm used to calling you young uncle. I can't change it in such a short time. I promise that I'll only call you young master when there's no one else around. Zhang Xiaohua was somewhat angry and thought to himself, this kid is only about 12 years old. How can he worm his way into being so close? Compared to him, this young master was an idiot. That year at Huanxi Mountain Manor, I was actually teased by someone like Ma Jing. If this kid was there, wouldn't he have played Ma Jing in circles? At this time, he said in a strong and mysterious voice, my aunt and uncle were full of praise for your martial arts. At that time, I didn't think so and thought they were exaggerating. Now it seems that you're actually valued by the disciples of Chuanxiang cult. This nephew really admires young uncle. Zhang Xiaohua didn't know whether to laugh or cry. Then he heard the strong voice say, young uncle, from now on, this nephew's future will be in your hands. You must not forget about this nephew. By the way, young uncle, This nephew has learned a good massage technique since young. Are you tired? Let's get on the carriage and let this nephew serve you well? His strong and flattering appearance made Zhang Xiaohua have goosebumps all over his body. He waved his hand and said, I'm not tired, I'm not tired. We've just started our journey. Then he smiled and said, if young uncle is tired, just tell this nephew. Don't let your fertile water flow into other people's fields. This nephew has nothing to do. Hearing this, Zhang Xiaohua almost fell down again. What do you mean by don't let your fertile water flow into other people's fields? How can you describe it like this? Holding Huan's broad back, Zhang Xiaohua felt lucky. If it was an ordinary horse, it would have fallen down again and again. How terrible would that be? Zhang Xiaohua said with a straight face. Chang, you just sit in the carriage. We've just started the journey and there's still a long way to go. I'll go to the front and take a look. After that, he patted Huan and rushed forward. Seeing that Zhang Xiaohua was running away, Chang couldn't help but smile brightly. He turned around and got into the spacious carriage. The two carriages in front were filled with children. When they saw Zhang Xiaohua riding the David's deer forward, they looked at the carriage window with envy. Seeing that Zhang Xiaohua had seen them, some of them were sensible and had already cupped their hands in greeting. There were also a few who quickly lowered their heads, as if to avoid something. A few more carriages were filled with things. There were disciples of the School of Fragrance who were leisurely riding their horses. When they saw Zhang Xiaohua coming over, they had already been informed by the other disciples that he was also taking care of the carriages. They nodded slightly at him and said, Run Xiaoyao, the carriages in front belong to the School of Fragrance. You don't have to care about them. Just take care of your own things. You don't have to go forward. Zhang Xiaohua cupped his hands and said, Thank you for the reminder, senior brother. I'll go back now. As soon as he said senior brother, he knew that something was wrong. As expected, the disciple also frowned. Fortunately, this disciple's personality was good. He waved his hand and said, Go, but don't call me that in the future. Zhang Xiaohua was greatly embarrassed. He thought to himself, Are the disciples of the School of Fragrance's external disciples this awesome? I'm only calling him senior brother, but he cares so much. Even the disciples of the Misty School back then didn't seem to be like this. If it was a normal day, Zhang Xiaohua might have asked what he should call him if he didn't call him senior brother. However, looking at that person's arrogant appearance, he was too lazy to ask. He cupped his hands and turned to leave. When Zhang Xiaohua was far away, that person snorted coldly and said softly, You're just a medicine boy. Even if you're the son-in-law of Rejuvenation Valley, what can you do in front of us? If it weren't for the fact that Rejuvenation Valley treated you well 2 days ago, we would have cut your face long ago. Since he knew that he was just a decoration, and that the School of Fragrance's carriages didn't welcome him, Zhang Xiaohua could only stay beside his family's 6 carriages. He still sat cross-legged and closed his eyes to comprehend his incantation. The School of Fragrance's carriages didn't go to Worry City after they left Rejuvenation Valley. Instead, they turned at a junction and went straight to the west. Although Zhang Xiaohua had never seen a caravan of more than 20 carriages, there were many such caravans on a daily basis. Even when Zhang Xiaohu was an escort, his caravan was no less than this. Therefore, although many people stopped to watch along the way, it didn't attract too much attention. On the contrary, the last person in the caravan looked sleepy and was riding a strange mule. He attracted more attention. Fortunately, the School of Fragrance's disciples were knowledgeable enough and didn't treat Zhang Xiaohua as an equal. Therefore, they just wanted to watch the show and focused on their own business. As for Zhang Xiaohua, he didn't care. From Tanha City to Worry City, he didn't know how many people looked at him inexplicably. He was already used to it. In this way, 2 days passed. The caravan had traveled a long way according to the School of Fragrance's itinerary. When it came to the School of Fragrance's itinerary, Zhang Xiaohua admired it. It really was the style of a great sect. They didn't choose only the official roads but also many winding paths. They didn't even avoid the deep mountains and old forests. Thinking back to when she was with Nie Qinyu and Little Orange, they didn't take ordinary paths. At first, Zhang Xiaohua was also very nervous about his habit of sleeping. But in these 2 days, he found that the School of Fragrances caravan's itinerary was very orderly. Every time it was dark, they would arrive at a place to rest. And this place was often arranged properly. It wasn't some random inn. The food, drink, and accommodation were all ready-made. It seemed to be the place where the School of Fragrances members lived. Zhang Xiaohua naturally stayed in the same room as Chang Chang. Although Chang Chang tried to get close to Zhang Xiaohua as soon as he entered the room, Zhang Xiaohua ignored him. He only said that he needed to cultivate his internal energy and could not be disturbed too much. After a few times, Chang Chang learned to be obedient and only served him carefully. Yes, served him tea and water, and did not say anything else. As for the night cultivation, it was even simpler. With just a finger wind, wouldn't the strong ones obediently sleep until dawn? Chang Chang was overjoyed for the past 2 days. He thought that his insomnia had finally improved. Every day when he woke up, he would nag for a long time. He was so annoyed that Zhang Xiaohua almost hit his acupoints again. One day, Zhang Xiaohua, who was walking on a rugged path and cultivating with her eyes closed, suddenly felt a jolt in her heart. She immediately released her divine sense in front of her, as if she had sensed something. There will be a new atmosphere for the Lunar New Year. Everyone will be rich. Please cast your monthly votes and recommendation votes. Come and read more chapters. Support the author, support the original reading. Chapter 513. A few hundred feet in front of the incense cult's convoy, there were dozens of people dressed in bright armor, standing neatly with weapons in their hands. In front of these people were a few refined people. Although they did not have weapons in their hands, their temples were bulging and there were swords hanging from their waists. At first glance, one could tell that they were sword masters. In front of them was an old man dressed in feathered clothes and a star crown. He held a feather fan and waved it unhurriedly, as if waiting for the fish to take the bait. Seeing this, Zhang Xiaohua was shocked. How could they be ambushed as soon as they came out of Rejuvenation Valley? However, if it was an ambush, why would they just stand there like that? Wouldn't they find a place to hide and wait for the convoy to pass by? Just as he was wondering, the old man did something that made him even more puzzled. The old man looked up at the sun and frowned slightly. At this time, in the distance, someone was holding a small flag and waving it rapidly. The old man's face lit up and he immediately turned around to give orders. The young men waved their hands. Zhang Xiaohua thought that they were going to ambush, but the dozens of warriors put away their weapons and quickly went to the back of the mountain. Not long after, they came back. Some people were holding bouquets, some people were holding trays, and some people were carrying huge boxes. These people came to the side of the road and lined up respectfully. Zhang Xiaohua looked at the trays and suddenly realized that there were some wine and food in the trays. Oh, so they were the people who flattered the incense cult. Immediately, Zhang Xiaohua was too lazy to pay attention to them, and continued to comprehend his chant. Not long after, the incense cult's convoy came to the place where those people were waiting. The disciple leading the way was not nervous and shouted, "Who is in front? How dare you block the path of the incense cult?" The old man didn't panic. He took a step forward and said in a warm voice, "I am Mao Qi of the Firmament Fortress. I have been waiting here for a long time for the emissary of the fragrant religion. Please stay here for a while. We have food and wine for you. If possible, you can walk a few miles and you will arrive at our place. Please stay here for a night." The disciple smiled and said, "Sect leader Mao, you are too kind. I will go and report to the emissary and see if he agrees." After saying that, he patted his horse and left. Not long after, someone came back with a gloomy face. He said, "The envoy has given the order. The Firmament Doc's leader Mao has accepted it. However, we still need to hurry on with our journey, so we won't stop." "Thank you, leader Mao." Sect leader Mao didn't give way and continued to smile. "Please report to the envoy that the previous envoys are all resting in my sect. My sect has already prepared food and wine, so I hope the envoy will give us some face." The disciple was a little embarrassed. Just as he was about to turn his horse around, he heard a cold snort. Sect leader Mao, when did you arrange the itinerary of my incense cult? Whether or not I go to the Heaven's Vault Dock is my decision. Although my senior and junior brothers give you face, do I have to be like them? The voice wasn't loud, but it sounded like it was right next to his ear. Mao Qi was shocked and hurriedly bowed deeply. I wouldn't dare. How could I have such courage? I just feel that the emissary must be tired from the journey, so I want to show my filial piety. I ask for the emissary's understanding. When Master Kong heard this, he became even angrier. Since you know, why aren't you moving aside? Do you still want us to walk on the road like this? When Mao Qi heard this, he quickly stepped back and made way for the emissary. Master Kong's voice sounded again. In the future, if you encounter such situations, you don't need to report to me. Just drive them away. The disciple in front didn't dare to delay and immediately turned around to agree. Then he scolded Mao Qi. Sect leader Mao. When Mao Qi saw this, he hurriedly made a gesture of invitation and said, I don't dare to disturb you. Please have a safe journey. The incense cult disciple raised his horse whip and left first. The other carriages also formed a line and slowly drove past the people of the Heaven's Vault Dock. Although the disciples of the Heaven's Vault Dock were scolded by Peacock, they didn't dare to show any dissatisfaction. They only bowed respectfully and quietly waited for the carriages to leave. When most of the carriages had left and only the carriages of the Rejuvenation Valley were left, they slightly raised their eyes and stared at the carriages with jealousy in their eyes. It was as if they already knew that these carriages belonged to the Rejuvenation Valley. However, when their eyes fell on Zhang Xiaohua, who was sitting cross-legged beside the carriages and riding the David's deer with her eyes slightly closed, they were all shocked. They all frowned and looked at each other before lowering their heads again. Zhang Xiaohua was sitting on the David's deer and had already seen everything. She was also unhappy. Presumably, the Heaven's Vault Dock had failed to flatter the incense cult and might take their anger out on the Rejuvenation Valley, who had a good relationship with the incense cult. She didn't know if she would bring trouble to the Rejuvenation Valley by swaggering in the carriages. Sure enough, when the carriages of the incense cult were far away, Mao Qi, who was watching from afar, turned around and asked. The last disciple seemed to be riding the David's deer from the Rejuvenation Valley, right? A young man behind him nodded and said, Father, you're right. It is the David's deer. Only places like the Rejuvenation Valley have this kind of beast. Another person also disdainfully said, The Rejuvenation Valley only knows how to flatter the incense cult. They even gave the David's deer to the incense cult. This kind of gift is not something that anyone in Jianghu can afford. Mao Qi also nodded. No wonder the incense cult takes care of the Rejuvenation Valley. Every time they come out, they go to the Rejuvenation Valley. It is difficult for us to even meet the emissaries. At this time, he saw the person behind him frowning as if thinking about something. He asked, Little Three, you've always been talkative. Why are you so quiet today? Are you scared by the incense cult? Little Three raised his head and said, Father, you saw the David's deer just now. Boy saw that the disciple riding the David's deer looked very familiar, as if he had seen him somewhere before. But he couldn't remember where. Mao Qi waved his hand. In the past, the incense cult's emissaries would more or less stop to rest. Some of them even rested at the Heaven's Vault Dock. Maybe you saw him at that time. Little Three still shook his head. No, Father. If it was a disciple of the incense cult that I saw before, Boy would be very respectful. How could I forget? Wasn't the one who led the way the last time we went to the Heaven's Vault Dock? Boy still remembers. This last disciple seemed to be someone I met recently. Also, I saw him from afar. I didn't see him clearly, so I couldn't remember. At this point, his eyes lit up and he slapped his forehead. I remember now. It's actually this guy. Mao Qi was stunned and scolded. Why are you so surprised? Tell me quickly, who is that person? He's not a disciple of the incense cult, but he's in the incense cult's caravan? Little Three laughed. If he's not a disciple of the incense cult, then he's naturally a medicine boy of the Rejuvenation Valley. Mao Qi waved his hand. The medicine boy is only about 10 years old. He's always hiding in the carriage. How could he dare to ride a horse outside like the guards? Little 3 said, "Father, do you still remember the martial arts competition for a spouse in the Rejuvenation Valley half a year ago? That 14-year-old boy who defeated the swordmaster of the Longting Villa?" Hearing this, Mao-Chi seemed to have thought of something and said in surprise, "Could it be that this guy is the Run, something you were talking about half a year ago?" Little 3 nodded and said, "I wasn't sure at first, but now the more I think about it, the more I'm sure. Boy was far away that day and didn't see it clearly. This guy later entered the Rejuvenation Valley, and didn't even attend the banquet. So Boy's memory isn't very accurate." "Didn't old Nia later call him Run something?" Ren Xiaoyao. "Yes, he said that Ren Xiaorao was still young, just 14 years old. It would be a few years before he could marry his third brother. How could this be? Could it be that he was sent to the incense cult as a medicine boy? But what about his third brother? What about the martial arts competition for a spouse?" Mao-Chi nodded thoughtfully and said, "I don't know what old Nia's plan is to tie the Rejuvenation Valley and the incense cult closer together. Forget it, let's not think about it anymore. I'd better discuss it with old Sun and the others." Little 3 also nodded and said, "Father's idea is the best. Although the Falling Star Alliance is not strong, after all, there are many sects and they are well informed. They are the most suitable to find them. Okay, everyone, let's go home. There are ready-made food and wine here. Others don't want to eat it, but we can enjoy it." Many disciples behind him shouted loudly, instantly sweeping away their previous dejection. The caravan of the incense cult continued to move forward for nearly 20 days. During this time, there were countless sects waiting by the roadside like the Heaven's Dock, wanting to serve the incense cult. However, the disciples leading the way had learned from their previous experience. When they saw the leaders of these sects, they were not polite and directly scolded them. The caravan did not stop at all, and directly sped past in front of them. At first, Zhang Xiaohua was wondering if the incense cult's way of doing things was appropriate, and whether it would offend them. However, what he saw in front of him showed him the grandeur of the super sects in Jianghu. Those rejected sects were all submissive and apologized loudly. Many of them even bowed deeply. They did not dare to get up even when the caravan was far away. Where was the anger of being rejected? Every time he saw this, Zhang Xiaohua, who was walking at the back, secretly shook his head. Servility, this is servility. If such a sect only wants to find a solid backer, and does not consider its own strength, how can it stand tall in Jianghu? Not to mention 100 years, 1,000 years, or even 10,000 years. Alas, this guy is standing, oh no, sitting on the David's deer, talking is easy. How would he know the difficulty of establishing a sect? If they did not flatter each other, these sects might not be able to hold on for even 10 years. After traveling for nearly a month, the weather gradually became humid, and the surrounding environment also changed. The number of mountains gradually increased, and the number of forests on the mountains also gradually increased. Moreover, there were many low and bare small stone peaks appearing from time to time, as if the forest was made of stone. Of course, the food also became spicy and sour. However, Zhang Xiaohua usually did not eat much, so he did not care. On this day, after passing through the dense forest, there was another lush forest in front of them. Sitting on Huan's back, Zhang Xiaohua, who had a breakthrough in the incantation of God traction, suddenly released his divine sense and looked forward. A few miles away, there was a ropeway in the air. A man in green stood steadily on the ropeway with his hands clasped behind his back, moving with the wind. Chapter 5:14. This was the gap between the two mountains. The mountains were not very high, but the distance between the two mountains was very far, and the mountain stream was even more frighteningly deep. A rope bridge was placed between the two mountains. It was like a black line that swayed in the wind. The man in black stood leisurely in the middle of the cable bridge, with his hands behind his back, facing the direction of the fragrant religion's convoy, and quietly waiting. From time to time, the mountain wind would blow, causing the man's hair and clothes to flutter, but the man's eyes did not blink as he stared straight ahead. Zhang Xiaohua's divine sense shrouded over, but the man did not notice. It was only when Zhang Xiaohua carefully sized him up that he slightly frowned and raised his chin slightly, a little surprised in his heart. But when he used his qi to examine carefully, Zhang Xiaohua had already moved far away from him. Could this be some kind of welcoming gimmick from some sect? Zhang Xiaohua secretly muttered. Zhang Xiaohua wanted to categorize the man blocking their way as a threat, but along the way, the cult of fragrance had been very brazen, and did not hide their itinerary at all. The various sects had also been waiting for them on the road in advance, but they had not seen anything that was disadvantageous to the cult of fragrance. Gradually, Zhang Xiaohua began to understand why the disciples of the cult of fragrance had said that his escort was just for show. That was because wherever they went, people would welcome them with open arms, so who would have evil intentions? But at this time, the convoy was still very far from the cable bridge, and the man in black did not notice the arrival of the convoy. His body did not reveal any killing intent, so he could not tell whether he was a friend or foe. After the time it took to eat a meal, the cable bridge was close. The man in black suddenly raised the corner of his eyes, and a smile appeared on his lips. His body moved slightly, and in an instant, an invisible killing intent immediately spread out from his body, and rushed straight towards the fragrant religion's convoy. Zhang Xiaohua was riding the David's deer at the very back of the group. When he saw the blue-robed man move and release an imposing aura, he knew in his heart that this guy was here to cause trouble. He was not angry but happy. To be honest, he had been tired of traveling for a while. If someone wanted to challenge the prestige of the fragrant religion, he would be happy to watch. At this moment, the disciple leading the way had already realized that there was a suspension bridge up ahead. Just as he was about to warn the group, a low harumph suddenly sounded. "Halt the convoy." It was Lord Peacock Kong's order. No one dared to dawdle. They immediately stopped the carriages and Peacock ordered, "Go and see if there's any movement on the suspension bridge." She did not call out his name directly. The disciple who was leading the way immediately obeyed the order, and urged his horse forward a few steps to the side of the mountain. When he saw the green-robed man on the rope bridge clearly, he sucked in a breath of cold air and shouted, "That man, who are you? Why are you blocking my path? Why are you blocking my incense cult's advance?" The green-robed man's pale face was filled with contempt. He whispered, "You're just an outer disciple and yet you're so arrogant. What makes you think you have the right to ask for my name? Go and tell your Lord Kong that I don't welcome you. Tell your Lord Kong to come and face her death. After she dies, I'll throw you off this cliff one by one." The disciple of the incense cult had never been humiliated like this before. He was about to jump down from his horse when he heard an angry shout. "Come back, don't you know what you're worth?" After that, a white figure flew out from the middle of the carriage and headed straight for the side of the mountain. Seeing his lord coming down, the disciple did not dare to make a move. He quickly bowed and retreated. Peacock looked at the figure on the suspension bridge, and then looked around. She ordered, "Protect the carriages carefully. Do not let this man's accomplice take advantage of the chaos to rob us. The goods in the convoy are worthless, but they care about the reputation of the incense cult." "I understand." After that, he ran back to the carriages and rearranged the guards to protect them. Zhang Xiaohua, the fake bodyguard, was relieved of his duties. A disciple of the incense cult stood not far from him with a long sword in hand. Seeing this, Zhang Xiaohua jumped down from his David's deer and sat in the carriage. Forceful poked his head out of the carriage and asked in fear, "Uncle, what's going on?" Zhang Xiaohua frowned. "Why are you shouting again?" "It's nothing. It seems like someone is blocking our way." "Another offering of food and wine?" Forceful shook his head. "We meet them every few days, hide in the carriage and don't talk. It seems like they're looking for trouble." "What? Looking for trouble? How dare someone touch the tail of the incense cult? Oh no, this is bad. They wouldn't dare to go to Liangshan if they weren't confident. Since they dared to come, they must have some confidence. Uncle, we're just medicine apprentices. They won't kill us, right?" "Nonsense, they're going to kill us all. They're going to keep you alive to report to the incense cult." Zhang Xiaohua looked at him with contempt. A child who has never been in the martial arts world is so ignorant. As expected, Forceful's face turned pale and he said with a trembling voice, "Uncle, we're relatives. If you run, don't forget to take me with you." Zhang Xiaohua glared at him. "Even the disciples of the incense cult can't escape. Where can I go?" "You should pray for Master Kong. Only if she wins will we be safe." Forceful nodded like a chicken pecking at rice. Okay, I'll pray now." "Uncle, are you not coming?" Zhang Xiaohua was annoyed. "I'm not sincere." "You do it." Then he released his spiritual sense and admired from afar. He no longer cared about Forceful. Peacock came to the end of the suspension bridge and looked at the surrounding terrain. The bridge was very long and connected the two places. It was the only way. Below the bridge was a deep mountain stream. Inside the stream were countless trees. Everything was green as far as the eye could see. With a plan in mind, Peacock asked calmly, "The heroes in front, why are you so unfamiliar? What's the matter with you stopping my convoy?" Although the voice was faint, it was transmitted directly into the ears of the man in green. Due to the wind, he could not hear it clearly. The man in green laughed coldly. "I'm Liang Sangshu. I'm a nobody. Even if Master Kong knows my name, you won't know where I come from. Since I know you're Master Kong, and I'm blocking your only way, what do you think I can do? I'll just take your life and kill everyone in the incense cult." "Hee, you have a good plan. But just you alone? Don't you think that's wishful thinking? Lord Kong, you really live like a prince. Although there are many people in the Aroma sect, the only one who can make me act is Lord Kong. I only need to kill you, and the others will be as easy as squashing ants, won't they?" Peacock nodded. "You're right. But I'm curious. Who in Jianghu wouldn't flatter the incense cult when they see them? Why do you have to go against the incense cult?" "Ha ha ha," Liang Sangshu laughed. "Master Kong, if you're trying to get information from me, Liang, then you're wrong. Come. Let me see what a disciple of the incense cult is capable of." After saying that, he raised his hands, which had been behind his back, in front of him, holding a steel knife in each hand. Not only was Zhang Xiaohua stunned, even Peacock frowned. As the saying goes, 10 days to practice the fist, 100 days to practice the blade, 1,000 days to practice the spear, 10,000 days to practice the sword. In this Jianghu, most of the people who were highly skilled in martial arts used swords. Only by using swords could they display their profound internal energy and superb moves. Of course, there were exceptions. Zhang Xiaohua's fist training was much more strenuous than her sword training. However, since this inexplicable Liang Sangshu dared to stop the inner disciple of the incense cult, Peacock, no one would believe that he did not have some degree of confidence. This meant that his cultivation of the saber was not low, and he must have a unique skill. Moreover, he was wielding a pair of blades rarely seen in Jianghu. Flexible sword, another flexible sword. Zhang Xiaohua's heart skipped a beat. She could not help but think of Qin Shiyue from the Tenryu sect. That person also wielded a flexible sword, but he was used to slashing and killing. Peacock was dressed in a snow-white robe, holding a flexible sword that swayed in the wind from time to time. The sword was slender and the beauty was graceful. It was a picture of beauty. Peacock stepped onto the suspension bridge and walked forward steadily. Even though she was slender, the bridge swayed with every step she took. However, Liang Sangshu was standing very steadily. His body swayed along with the bridge, as if he was one with the bridge. When Peacock saw this, she was not surprised. She waited for Liang Sangshu to come closer before she swung her flexible sword. The flexible sword pointed diagonally towards the sky. Peacock laughed coldly and said, "Liang Sangshu, I don't care who you are. If you stop now, it's not too late. Turn back now and I'll pretend that nothing happened. But if you wait for me to strike and chop off your head, it'll be too late for regrets." Liang Sangshu crossed his blades and slashed them across the air. He laughed. "Until now you're still thinking of winning without a fight? Are the inner disciples of the incense cult all so fond of using logic to convince others?" As he spoke, he stomped his foot and levitated into the air. He shouted, "Since you're not going to make a move, then I'll teach you what it means to strike first." Before he finished his sentence, the blade in his right hand was raised and slashed towards Peacock's head like a rainbow. Peacock did not back down. She laughed coldly. I see that you don't know any etiquette. You don't look like a useless disciple from any sect. Let me teach you what it means to be a real master. Then, like a flash of lightning, Peacock charged forward. The flexible sword in her hand was aimed at Liang Sangshu's throat. The speed of the flexible sword was faster than the steel blade. If Liang Sangshu did not dodge, the flexible sword would have penetrated his vitals first. However, Liang Sangshu did not pull back his saber to counter the attack. Instead, he made a circle with his left hand and flicked his wrist outwards. The other steel saber blocked the direction of the soft sword. Please vote. 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 Chapter 5:15. Peacock's flexible sword was about to be blocked by Liang Sangshu's steel saber. But just as the two weapons clashed, the upper half of the flexible sword lifted up and dodged the steel saber. Like a snake, the flexible sword continued to stab towards Liang Sangshu's face. This move was surprisingly similar to Zhang Xiaohua's dream-chasing sword. Liang Sangshu dared not slow down. He quickly turned sideways and levitated into the air. His toes stood on the steel chain of the suspension bridge. The steel saber in his left hand continued to lift upwards in an attempt to deflect the flexible sword away. The steel saber in his right hand missed. While the saber in his right hand missed its target, Liang Sangshu tightened his grip and thrust forward. It was a sword move. Peacock was also in mid-air. Seeing her flexible sword blocked and the other steel saber coming towards her abdomen, she took a deep breath and bent her flexible sword like an arm. Ding! A crisp sound was heard. It was the steel saber. Her body used the momentum to flip upwards. Just like Liang Sangshu, she stood on the other steel chain of the suspension bridge. The exchange of moves between the two happened in the blink of an eye, so it was hard to tell who was better. However, both of them had a general understanding of each other. They held their breaths and secretly adjusted their internal breathing, looking at each other with caution. Zhang Xiaohua used his divine sense to observe the battle from afar. He saw a chain bridge flying across the sky. The two of them stood on the iron chain that was trembling slightly in the mountain wind. Their bodies were suspended in the air. Their clothes were fluttering in the wind, and their black hair was flowing elegantly. They really looked like two immortals riding the wind. Peacock and Liang Sangshu stared at each other, waiting for the moment when the other would reveal an opening. But after a moment, where would there be an opening to be found? Thus, one of them shouted and the other reprimanded. Both sabers and flexible swords danced in the air. Once again, they were engaged in battle. Liang Sangshu's twin sabers were like two dragons emerging from the sea, stirring up ripples of blue waves. His saber technique was like the autumn wind sweeping away fallen leaves, airtight and threatening. Peacock's flexible sword was like a snake spitting out its tongue, nimble in its swiftness. It was nimble and flexible to the extreme, and the sword technique was also like lightning that swept across the sky, leaving no trace behind. Zhang Xiaohua observed the moves of martial arts with his divine sense. Generally speaking, he could easily see the flaws and the trajectory of the moves. He could predict the enemy's moves. However, at this moment he suddenly realized that he had the same feeling as the mysterious old man in the underground hall of the nameless villa. That battle was the most dangerous battle that Zhang Xiaohua had ever faced since she became a cultivator. That was why she could still remember it vividly. In that battle, Zhang Xiaohua's consciousness could no longer detect the mysterious old man's moves. She lost the advantage of being the first to strike, and fell into a difficult situation. And now in her consciousness, the two saber and saber skills gave Zhang Xiaohua the same feeling. It was as if she could not see through their moves. Even though Peacock was wearing a veil, Zhang Xiaohua's divine sense had once penetrated the veil, and saw her face. She was only a young girl in her early 20s. Liang Sangshu was even more so. He looked like he was about 25 years old, slightly older than Peacock. This meant that they were young men about the same age as Zhang Xiaohua's second brother. Yet their martial arts were so good that they were almost as good as the mysterious old man. If they were in Jianghu, they would be considered to be very powerful. Peacock was easy to deal with. She was an outstanding inner disciple of the super big sect, Aroma Cult. Which sect did Liang Sangshu belong to? The Righteous Alliance? But if he was from the Righteous Alliance, how could he face the incense order without hiding? The Dalan Temple? Liang Tsangshu was not a monk. Of course, the people of the Dalan Temple were monks. Not being a monk did not mean that he was not from the Dalan Temple. But then again, if he was not a monk, he could not have received the true teachings of the Dalan Temple. Zhang Xiaohua began to understand. This guy was probably the same as Qin Shiyue. Maybe he was from the Dragon God sect. But even Qin Shiyue, the disciple of Garuda, did not seem to have such skills. Then which heavenly king's disciple was this Liang Tsangshu? Zhang Xiaohua did not know who the heavenly kings of the Dragon God sect were, but with such skills, he must be a disciple of someone of high status. Maybe, he was a disciple of the Dragon God sect's leader. Just as Zhang Xiaohua was making wild guesses, the battle became even more intense. But as the battle dragged on, it gradually became clear who had the upper hand. Both of them were using their superior qin gong. Their bodies flew back and forth on the iron chain, and the sound of swords clashing could be heard. Other people might not be able to see anything, except for the two who were fighting with their lives on the line. Perhaps only Zhang Xiaohua, who was watching with his divine sense at the back of the caravan, could tell what was going on. Peacock's sword moves were often like a stroke of genius. Zhang Xiaohua's consciousness struggled to capture them. But of course, she could still see them clearly. On the other hand, Liang Tsangshu's sword moves were gradually becoming more obvious as time passed. Zhang Xiaohua did not have to spend too much effort to see the trajectory of the two swords. Although his sword skills were also very good, but it was already at a disadvantage. In Zhang Xiaohua's mind, if there were no accidents, Peacock should be able to kill Liang Tsangshu with her flexible sword. Of course, the result of the battle did not necessarily determine this. At least, the depth and endurance of one's internal energy was a key factor. In this aspect, Peacock, as a female, was at a disadvantage. Sure enough, after a while, Peacock's movements slowed down. Her forehead was covered in sweat. Peacock fainted and escaped from the battle. She stood at the side and smiled. "You are very skilled. Could it be that you are a master from the Tenryu sect?" Liang Tsangshu saw this and sheathed his swords. "Master Peacock, you have good taste. If I admit that I am a disciple of the Tenryu sect, I am sure you will not doubt me. But, do you think I am?" Peacock nodded. "Although there are many sects in Jianghu, other than the Tenryu sect, I can't think of any other sections. Even if you don't admit it, what can you do?" Liang Tsangshu laughed. "If you say I am, then I am. If you say I am not, then I am not." Peacock sneered. "As long as I capture you, who would not know who you are?" She then took out a jade bottle and crushed it. She tilted her head back and poured the contents into her mouth. She then threw the jade bottle into the endless forest below the suspension bridge. Liang Tsangshu was not surprised by Peacock's actions. He too handed his swords to his left hand, and his right hand took out a pill. He popped it into his mouth and held his swords in alert. Haha, other than the Tenryu sect, who else in Jianghu can make the 7 returns pill that replenishes internal energy like the Tenryu sect? If I don't admit it, wouldn't it show that the Tenryu sect is ignorant? Haha, Liang Tsangshu retorted. When Peacock heard this, a cold light flashed in her eyes. Then, she silently channeled her inner energy into the soft sword. Once the inner energy entered the soft sword, it immediately let out a dragon's roar. Then, it trembled a little, and the tip of the sword faintly emitted a light. "Sword ray?" Liang Tsangshu whispered. "I didn't expect Master Peacock's internal energy to reach such a level. The Tenryu sect, you really live up to your name. From your voice, you sound like a girl in her 20s. To have such achievements, you are worthy of respect." When Zhang Xiaohua saw this, he was also surprised. He had heard Valley Master Nia talk about this sword aura before and knew that it was a legendary thing in Jianghu. This girl who was younger than his second brother actually had this kind of skill. She really could not be underestimated. Of course, although Zhang Xiaohua was surprised, he wasn't too surprised. After all, this girl was wielding the jade water sword. She only used a fraction of her internal energy to create a sword ray that was a foot long. On the cable bridge, Although Liang Xingshu was astonished, the expression on his face was not too obvious. It was as if everything was within his expectations. Liang Xingshu slowly raised his twin blades, as a faint red glow appeared on his face. Furthermore, the twin blades that were slanted towards the sky gradually emitted a red glow. The entire blade slowly grew larger, as a red glow flickered on the edges of the blades. Sword ray! Peacock couldn't help but exclaim in surprise. The sword ray on the soft sword retracted. Zhang Xiaohua was also surprised. Liang Xingshu's blades could produce something similar to a sword ray. Could it be a sword ray? But the sword ray came from the tip of the sword, and this sword ray came from such a long blade. Was it not more powerful? Zhang Xiaohua couldn't hear Peacock's exclamation, so he didn't know the name of the sword ray. But when he saw the sword ray on Peacock's soft sword retreating, he knew that Peacock was surprised. He was also curious. So he said to Chang in the carriage, "What's going on in front? Why aren't we leaving? I need to pee." "Forget it, I'm going to relieve myself." Then he stood up. Chang was scared and quickly pulled on his sleeve. "Uncle, is the situation in front bad? Don't leave me behind. We're really relatives." Zhang Xiaohua was helpless. "How would I know the situation in front? Sit carefully. We're just medicine boys. If the situation in front is bad, we'll be the ones kowtowing and begging for mercy." "Uncle, didn't you say that they wanted to kill us?" "Hee, it doesn't matter who we're going to be, we'll be their medicine boy. We're pill refinement professionals. Maybe they're here to rob us. All right, I'm going to relieve myself." Then, without waiting for Chang to say anything, he lifted the curtain and poked his head out. Although the School of Fragrance disciples were on guard, their attention was focused in front of them. They wanted to know the outcome of their family's battle. Who would pay attention to Rejuvenation Valley's carriage? Therefore, no one noticed Zhang Xiaohua's appearance. Delighted, Zhang Xiaohua used his consciousness to scan the area. No one was paying attention to him. When he landed, he immediately made a hand seal and used the earth escape technique to reach the other end of the suspension bridge. However, the mountain stream between the two connected mountains was too deep. Zhang Xiaohua couldn't get too close. He could only hide at the top of the mountain and sneak his head out to watch the two people on the suspension bridge using their trump cards. Please vote, 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 vote. That you're tuning in to the Li Mei's Wuxia Whispers YouTube channel. We're so grateful for your support, and don't forget to subscribe to join us on this incredible journey through captivating stories. Your generosity through donations truly makes a world of difference, as it's the primary source of revenue that allows me to expand and enhance this channel for you. Thank you from the bottom of my heart for being a part of this adventure.